but I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This show's live. We get together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what they are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Like I said, this show's live. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. And of course, as always, we're taking your phone calls as part of this conversation. Like I always say, this is less of a show, more of a conversation, and that's what we're here to do. I have, as you are all aware, I have no secret insiders. I have no insight into anything except I read a lot of the news. I watch Twitter, I watch Reddit, I watch different things. That's it. It's nothing special other than, well, there's a lot of things to talk about. And so we're going to talk about them. That's what we always do. And as part of that, like I said, none of the insiders and all the rest of that as far as information goes. But I do have you, meaning that the secret weapon of this show has always been you. Because think about it in terms of the media, the mass media, and all the rest of this. It's an issue, right? It's an issue with censoring things. It's an issue with just considering that we are being led astray by lots of things, lots of people, lots of interests, powers that be. Lots of the billionaire class would rather, buy a newspaper like the Washington Post, for instance, of course, owned by Jeff Bezos, by the way. They'd rather buy a newspaper to sway public opinion than, of course, try and make a good case. All right. So they buy a newspaper. They tell us lies, thinly coated with, some sugary sweet. You're going to get some things because you believe me. And well, then there's still lies, right? There's still lies. And this is the world we live in. And that's why it's called a post-truth world, right? The post-truth world. Well, no longer. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to buy the propaganda BS. You don't have to do any of that. You just have to be you, right? As part of just being you in society, you have to make up your own mind. You also have to just pay attention, right? Just pay attention. I do understand there's a lot of information out there that's contradictory. Right. And that's really what kind of got me interested in these types of topics because, right, in the old days, you would pull something up about, I don't know, let's say aliens. And, there would be people just swearing up and down, left and right. Hey, by the way, there are aliens, right? And then you go, check out some scientific papers and listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson and guys like this. And they're like, no aliens. There are no aliens. And so you're like, well, okay, so what's really going on here, right? Is there, isn't there? What is this all about? And that's just one example. You could pull it up for GMOs. You could pull it up for, oil, big oil. You could, big pharma, right? Like literally on and on and on and on. You could find literally opposing, binary, contradictory information about pretty much any topic you ever pull up, all right? Ever, no matter what. And that's the world we live in. It's the post-truth era. And so as part of that, right, I'm done. I am done with that mainstream garbage, and I'm just going to decide for myself. And I'm going to look at the things and still use a critical eye, a critical mind, but I'm done. I'm done living in their world, and I'm ready to start living in my own. And that's what this show is about. This show is about you and your reality and us together, and that you don't have to buy the political BS claptrap that they always try and stuff down your throat and tell you that you hate your neighbor. You just don't have to. All right. And that's what this show's about. And so that's my long-winded way of saying we can agree or disagree and still get along. And I truly believe that. And I've proved it. There's lots of people that disagree with me or agree with me or both or somewhere in between. It doesn't matter. Right. But we still talk to each other every night. We still get together and have discussions that sort of get the mind working, sort of make you face what should be your own reality, but the technocrats and the governments and all this stuff, the militaries, they're all trying to change your mind. And if they were honest about it, all they'd have to do is make a good case, right? That's all you have to do. If you're being honest, you have to make a good case. Well, if you're not, you have to buy newspapers, okay? And you have to spin information. You have to leave out critical details. You have to lie, right? Well, why? Why not just make a good case? It's pretty simple, isn't it? So anyway, with that good case and with all of that said, I invite you to join the show. If you can hear me anywhere out there tonight, you are welcome to join the show by dialing this phone number, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can find the phone number and the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website of this show. And the Discord link is there. The phone number is there. All of the social media is there. This show is streaming on that website, as a matter of fact, and you can go just check it out. Please check it out. Discord, by the way, is a chat client. It's a voice client, and it is one of those things that's just a beautiful piece of software. Like I said, we are not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by Discord, but it's so great that we have to mention it, and it's a great way to build communities. It's a great way to share ideas, and it is free. Completely 100% free. Go to, again, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, or go to fringe.fm/chat. Discord's one program that's just two different chat rooms, and just come say hi. Lots of fantastic people out there, and that's what we're doing. So if you want to be part of it, that's how you do it, and let's go. So this is what's happening, right? As you guys know, I always watch news cycles very closely because it is part of what this show's about. It's about propaganda and all those other things. But of course, aliens. Well, guess what is in the news? Yeah, that's right. You guessed it. Probably pretty much every day if you want to really dig deep enough. But it's rare to me that something interesting about aliens is in the news. Well, it's in the news today. So let's check it out. Let's, as always, right, I link my sources. You can find all this stuff already pre-posted on YouTube. So if you want to follow along or make sure I'm just not full of it, you're more than welcome to. Go check out these sources and you can see exactly where I got this information from. So this is from livescience.com. And this is from today. Yesterday, 1 day ago. And this got me thinking, right? We talk about aliens a lot on this show. You know, not like a lot, like some of the shows out there that talk about them every damn night. No, a lot meaning more than, Don Lemon. Probably more than Sean Hannity. We talk about aliens more than those guys. But okay, here we go. From Live Science, this is the conversation that kind of piqued my interest because we do talk about aliens decently often. And we kind of allude to this a lot, but have never really talked about this in general, or let's say in specific terms, just going right at it. And here's one that came out by Martin Rees, R-E-E-S. And the headline is this: Why extraterrestrial intelligence is more likely to be artificial than biological. Okay. Meaning, well, a lot of things. It means a lot of things, doesn't it? And it leads to a lot of angles, a lot of ways to kind of follow this and chase it down. So we can start with just the generic conversation of here, meaning, all right, if there's aliens out there, whether you believe it or not, let's just, again, suspend our disbelief, drink a little bit of maybe juice, as we call it, and consider the aliens are out there. All right. So if they were, how likely is it that they were going to be biological, right? Like we've been told, the ETI, the extraterrestrial intelligence, is a thing, but is it a biological thing? Is it a dimensional thing? Or very much like the Borg from Star Trek, is it a biomechanical thing? Where, of course, evolution, right? We talk about evolution sometimes on this show as well, and science and genetics and some of that stuff. But what about evolution in particular? Are we literally just sort of going from, let's say, again, we're going to just accept these things as facts. I know there's a lot of people don't believe in a lot of things we're saying, space in particular, evolution, all this other stuff. Fine. We're going to take it at face value and drink some of the maybe juice and consider this as true. And then from there, is it possible that we are actually evolving, not just from, let's say, a non-sentient pile of goo billions of years ago, as we're told, from lucky mud, as it were, to not just maybe ascending consciousness, but what if the actual ascension of that consciousness is an evolutionary step into the biomechanical suit, as it were? And that's what we're talking about. That's what's on my mind tonight, especially regarding this. Again, the headline from this article is Why Extraterrestrial Intelligence is More Likely to be Artificial Than Biological. And so let's consider it. Let's figure why this may or may not be a thing, and what are your ideas? So tonight we're going to talk about aliens, okay? And so aliens specifically in this sense, all right? Why is extraterrestrial intelligence, ETI, more likely to be artificial than biological? And that's the question. That's what's on my mind. But of course, as you know, this show basically goes where you want it to go because it's our show. It's not my show. This is our show. I've always said you're invited to be on here. You don't have to be Linda Moulton Howe or Richard Dolan. You just have to be you. And you have to be interested. And you have to be, we can laugh at ourselves, but you have to be semi-serious, to kind of have like a philosophical conversation about aliens, as it were. That's all. You just have to be you. Don't have to have a blog or any of the rest of that. So anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Now, we'll get into what some of this article says and all the rest of this as we go. But one of the main things that we've heard in the UFO mythology, okay, is that aliens themselves, the gray aliens in particular, which you see everywhere. You see them on X-Files, you see them in Stargate, you see them everywhere. Like pop culture has these things everywhere, these gray aliens, right? Everybody knows them, the big head, the big eyes, maybe short, 4 feet tall, something like that. They say there's short ones and there's tall ones and there's gray ones and there's green ones and there's a mix and they're all that, right? But many of the accounts, including some of the abduction phenomena that we've seen people describe as actually being taken into a flying saucer or whatever, abducted as it were, have described these gray entities, these gray aliens, as having some sort of cold feel to them, like they are less organic. In the sense that when they lock eyes with these things, it's more like locking eyes with a machine, more like some sort of, Roomba. Well, alien Roomba. I always like to go back to the Roomba, right? But some sort of alien something that's not warm. It seems to be a cold, icy gaze, all right, that comes from these extraterrestrials, these grays. And so as a result, some of this people have described these gray aliens or entities as not fully organic, all right? Meaning there's some sort of hybrid. There's some sort of Maybe it's a biological hybrid. Maybe it's a mechanical hybrid. Maybe it's a mix of all of those things. And that's what's on my mind tonight. The question here is this. If that's the case, and we're just going to start with the gray aliens as an example, but if that's the case, and you say, hey, look, biologically speaking, these gray aliens are not, what about all the rest of the aliens? You know, we've talked about clearly you need some sort of like super exotic propulsion to get from here to there. We're talking like light years, thousands of light years away type thing, which is an unbelievable amount of time to travel in some sort of stasis in deep space. Even if you were biological or a biomechanical of sorts, and you could plug into the wall and have some sort of, deep space power that, kept you alive from here to there for 10,000 years type of thing, it just doesn't seem very efficient. It doesn't seem like that's the most logical way to do things. So, well, what does that mean? It probably means a lot of things. It probably means that, maybe the idea of biomechanical hybrids isn't really that far-fetched if we're talking about different types of propulsion, exotic propulsion, wormholes, maybe using suns as power sources to warp drive like in Star Trek, that type of thing. I don't know. So as we go and talk about this tonight, I want to know what you think. If you were to put a bet down on what aliens actually are, do you think they would be organic, flesh and blood, as it were? Or do you think they'd be some sort of hybrid, some sort of biomechanical, something like this, or something else entirely? And I think that's the question tonight. So we're going to kind of tackle the biomechanical angle and why it's maybe or more likely that would be the case. But again, right, just because we're kind of tackling that angle doesn't mean we can't take it in any other direction you want to go. So I've got some ideas on what these things might be, these gray aliens, and why this biomechanical thing is possibly the next step in our human evolution. So we can look at that tonight and talk about this stuff and all the rest. But if you want to be part of this conversation, you guys know the drill. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And you can find the Discord link at troubledminds.org. All right. I think that's probably sufficient. Let's go to this article. Again, by Live Science, written by an individual by the name of Martin Rees, R-E-E-S. And here it is. Is there intelligent life elsewhere in the universe? It's a question that has been debated for centuries, if not millennia. But it is only recently that we've had an actual chance of finding out, with initiatives such as SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, using radio telescopes actively listen for radio messages from alien civilizations. What should we expect to detect if these searches succeed? And again, this individual from this article, Martin Rees, says, my suspicion is that it is very unlikely to be little green men. All right, which of course is those gray aliens we were talking about, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Don't worry. Don't you worry. We'll get to gray aliens. But he suspects it won't be that. He says this, something I speculated about at a talk at a Breakthrough Listen conference, which is a SETI project, again, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. He says this, suppose there are other planets where life began and that it followed something like a Darwinian evolution, which, of course, needn't be the case. We're just kind of using the models we know, etc., so on. Then he continues, even then, it's highly unlikely that the progression of intelligence and technology would happen at exactly the same pace as Earth. All right, I can buy that. That makes sense to me. And then here we go. He continues, if it lagged significantly behind, then that planet would plainly reveal no evidence of extraterrestrial life to our radio telescopes. But around a star older than the sun, life could have had a head start of 1 billion years or more. And so that's where this begins tonight. What does evolution look like once you get past the flesh and blood stage? We've talked about this as Elon Musk and Neuralink and those types of things, maybe consciousness ascending. But what happens when arms and legs are no longer desirable? And they need to be bionic arms and legs. Or who knows, maybe your legs are removed and you're replaced with tank treads or something, right? Like maybe that's what this evolution is leading us to. Of course, you're going to have to get people there kicking and screaming because, I was born with these legs. I don't want you to take them and replace them with tank treads. I'm sorry very much, but I'm sorry, not sorry. But a lot of people will jump onto this, right? And they will be interested in this sort of next level of evolution. When we take over evolution, just take it over into our own hands. We're like, psh, Darwinian stuff. That's for monkeys, right? We're people. And so suddenly, instead of that, we're going to start replacing limbs and even organs with synthetics. With what? Metal? Plastics, polymers, what kind of stuff? Hybrids type of things, right? And so if that's the case with us, and it's literally around the corner, it is like right there. Like we're literally like within our lifetime, we're going to be replacing not like organ transplants from like donors. It's going to be like transplants grown in a lab with some sort of bioplastic and then just swapped out, already has your DNA signature ready to go. You swap the organ out, boom. Just like changing an alternator on a car, right? That's where we're headed. And it's coming in our lifetime. And so not only that, if you take that and then you move to the next step, again, so we're talking about organs, right? You can replace that stuff. And then we'll live for a hell of a long time. Okay. And then, of course, you get arms and legs, less efficient, replace it with, Colossus arms from the X-Men and tank treads. And there you go. We're all like super things, right? We're able to lift an unbelievable amount. We're able to travel at the speeds of, vehicles all by ourselves, all self-contained in one little, lucky meat puppet. But, well, what does that look like when you take that, just that idea and that thought, and you take it and put it on an extraterrestrial level? That's what's on my mind tonight. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. If aliens are out there, do you think it's likely that they're organic entities like ourselves? Or do you think it's some other combination, which tonight we're talking about biomechanical and something like that, like they've described these gray aliens as in UFO mythology, by the way. Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. But otherwise, right, what about other aliens? Do you think it's possible or probable or any amount of likely that we're going to have any sort of contact with strictly biological entities? Because it seems to me, even looking at humans as they are now, in 500 years, we won't even be that. Like, we will be the aliens, right? Because we will be those biomechanical entities. And so, as a result, how do you think the aliens themselves would be after, I don't know, 1 million years of evolution? Once they've actually been able to, assess lifespans and replace organs and just basically expand lifetimes to be a ridiculous long amount. Then what? What's the next step? Does it become the hive mind? Does it become a Borg-type consciousness? Does it become, of course, a biomechanical thing? So you tell me. I don't know. That's what's on my mind tonight. As usual, right, kind of trying to tackle some of these ideas in interesting ways and explore them just a little more in depth because, they're just saying, well, the aliens or the hybrids or the biomechanicals, that's the other things. That's one thing, right? But then why? Why would that be likely? Why is it in the zeitgeist that way? And does it seem like maybe we're headed there ourselves? So that's the question. That's what's on my mind tonight as I consider these things, as I invite you to consider them with me. And yeah, and as you know, we're taking your phone calls. And I'd love to hear from you. So if you want to be part of the show tonight, you can give us a call. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We're talking about aliens and biomechanical evolution, not just on Earth, but elsewhere. I ask you to come with me on a journey and consider as you sip some maybe juice what this may look like elsewhere in the universe. One more time, this is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds, ETI, and you after the break. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And we're taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss biomechanical aliens. Why do you think it's likely that's the case? Why have gray aliens in UFO mythology been described as such? And do you think human evolution is headed the same direction? Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show, and it's as easy as that. And we have proof. Check this out. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Thank you for waiting, my friend. Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
I'm good.
Right on.
Hey, Mike.
Doing very well. Thank you very much. So I'm sure you have an idea here on biomechanical hybrids. What do you think about the aliens possibly being this, or us, or I don't know? What are your thoughts?
Okay. If you look at the graves, they have the large cranium, that kind of insinuates that they have super mental powers, perhaps, because their bodies are very diminutive. Like, not just diminutive, but wasted. They look emaciated. They don't even seem to have any, muscle or anything. Not even really bony, per se. Just kind of amphibious, almost. Very small limbs. Even the torso and the legs and everything, the way they're described. It's like they don't even have, a biological thing going on of eating, perhaps. Or mouths, or they have these slits for mouths that look as if they couldn't even eat anything. So how do they live? And then their noses and everything are kind of just, people have reported seeing no nose at all. We're seeing just what slits, basically. But then you have the enormous eyes. So you start to wonder about what the creature would be doing, or the thing. And it seems to be the purpose is maybe as an observer, or as a channel for an interaction with a dangerous or hostile environment. So if you have, say, in another galaxy, or right here somewhere strange on the Earth, there are actually controllers, so to speak. But yeah, it could make sense that they have made a biomechanical type of robot thing, and then have made them adaptable where they can come up into our atmosphere or be in any environment on the Earth, whether it's water or even in somebody's house or something, so that they can be in those environments and not be affected by being in the environment like the person or the thing or the individual who sent them would be. So say that these beings are somewhere where they cannot breathe the atmosphere, or they don't want to put themselves, they're in danger of possibly being attacked by humanity in some way, but they're putting themselves. But I don't think that these things are individually thinking on their own. If just my thought on it, that it seems likely then that they could be carrying the consciousness. So they don't necessarily have a soul of their own, but they're being, as you mentioned earlier, like meat suit puppet, they are being kind of puppeted by something that is watching from a remote viewing from within those giant eyeballs. So perhaps that's what's going on. And there is a seer somewhere far, far away directing these creatures to interact with humanity from an extremely safe distance with something that you could possibly shoot out of the sky, or, shoot if you should see it in your house, or if there should be something go wrong, So maybe that's what they are, kind of the drone idea, and that they have a biomechanical inside, but on the outside, it's like an amphibious or humanish, that they are able to exist in our atmosphere. And we could be mimicking this on our own. If you think about the movie Alien Bishop, kind of like that idea, but reversed, and it's an alien. But if we were to do something similar to that, or if they were going to take this and make them look more human, why didn't they do that too? So I think that's really strange that they didn't just make them, and maybe they already have made some of them look human. Or maybe we're going to do that, or maybe we would do the same kind of thing to be able to go to their atmosphere in a way. So that would make sense for the hybrid program stuff too. I mean, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, to send our astronauts just to the moon or to space or whatever, we put them in these huge suits, right? So at what point would we actually take that next step and maybe build the suit into them so they don't even have to put all that stuff on it? It makes a ton of sense that they would be that way.
Yeah, or avatar them into something else. You know? Like these aliens. Well, not aliens, these grays. Is it possible that they aren't there on their, like, if they're not being occupied with the consciousness of a being from another planet or another galaxy or something like that, they're just unanimated? Like, they aren't doing anything. It's possible that because they don't look like they eat, or, I don't know, they're not, they're obviously not earthly looking, you know, unless you're looking at like a giant, they look amphibious, kind of. I've noticed that. Like their skin and everything, but I don't think that they are, because it doesn't look like their mouths and everything, it doesn't matter. But yes, it seems very likely to me that they could be biomechanical, and I would think then that their strict purpose is just to house the consciousness of the thing, the person, or the strangers, the aliens from another galaxy, somewhere where they cannot come here because they can't be in our atmosphere, or they don't want to risk the outcomes of doing that and interacting with humanity this way for some strange reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know.
I like how you equated it to some sort of remote viewing from very, very far away. And that fits in with Einstein, his spooky action at a distance, right? Quantum entanglement. That if there was some sort of maybe a way to be inside of that entity itself, that actual gray alien or whatever it was, the biomechanical thing, it needs arms and legs or something to move around, but that's it. It just needs to be mobile and have like a ocular view of things, and that's it. And then you dial into it,
right,
very much like Avatar or something like that, and yeah, bingo, makes sense to me.
And maybe they're even sensing the environment, you know, like the way that their skin looks. Maybe that's all sending back feedback as well. Like they're literally just the senses, and then the telepathic remote like viewing abilities. So they may even be sensing temperatures and things like that with their. So they could be. It's not just strictly like mechanical or anything, but even their skin feels like the individual who is in another galaxy, for example, puppeting these drones, feel, smell, even like sense and everything on the skin and everything, perhaps, because the outside, it is biological looking in a way. So perhaps they're trying to get a full spectrum experience from within these drones, but that's what they've created, what they look like. But they're probably going to get better with it. I mean, they might have already, because people just, I don't know. But, you know, we're not far from it, because if you look at it, it's not much different than the way that we play video games or anything like that. We're avataring in all the time. And so it wouldn't be a reach to think that we could, instead of just putting on a suit, that we literally create biological beings that we can put ourselves, our consciousness into and experience things where we usually wouldn't be able to go. For example, in the water, or perhaps up in the air without an airplane, perhaps like a bird or something like that. But even into another planet, or to, you know, somewhere where the atmosphere is not suitable for our, you know, physiology or something. So,
yeah, it makes a ton of sense that's how it would happen. Definitely good stuff. So other thoughts on this? Maybe other aliens, or what else you got, Jen?
Let me think. Okay, so, you know, it's strange because a lot of people talk about when they encounter these things in their houses, how the alien will kind of just rub its hand over a certain spot of it. Like in the dumb situation, he like injured the person by referring to his own, like the alien referred to its own body and waved a hand, and then supposedly he was injured. In another account, I heard that they waved their hand and people would kind of go out of it. So they have some kind of also telekinetic abilities, people report, that have been abducted. I think that's really unusual, that they are able to put people out with kind of a wave of the hand and make them go into a docile state or completely just go out or freeze up. So how is it that they are doing that? So the energy wouldn't just be transferred, not the energy, the consciousness wouldn't just be transferred that from a distance, but I mean actually is being affected. Like they are literally in there, but not. So that could be it. It's just hard to get around the idea that these are not the actual being. This is just the the feeler of the actual being, but they are literally there. But at the moment that, for example, if they're in a crash or somebody should injure one of them, the actual alien zoops back to the original source and isn't hurt at all, even though the biomechanical thing in front of it may be dying or experiencing death. It's literally not there. And that's really bizarre because we're kind of like that ourselves in a way. But I don't think that the alien, the gray, is aware of itself or its consciousness the way that we are. Or is it? So it gets really complicated. But how are they able to are they actually, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to, it could go on and on with that.
Yeah, well, we'll have to pin one down and get an interview one time. That would be amazing. But so we're just here speculating on aliens and the rest of this. If you like Jennifer here, please give her a like and a follow down on her YouTube channel. Scroll down both on Rockfin and on YouTube itself. She's got a channel just started over there. So go say hi. Go give her a follow. And thank you so much for the call, Jen. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mike. Talk to you later.
Thanks
Bye.
a lot. Have a great night. There you go. Phone lines work. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for testing it out and making sure we're online and everything is working. Well, yeah, and we're taking your phone calls as we discuss this, right? Is it possible with gray aliens and all the rest of this that they are biomechanical entities? And very much like Jen was saying, and myself too, with some ideas here with maybe they are sort of those avatar situations where they're being remote controlled from afar, but not like remote control like we know it with some sort of radio waves or something like that, right? And a little controller in her hand, but with some sort of consciousness, right? Like think Cerebro in X-Men when he puts the thing on and he's in this big, chamber and it whips up and adds, more and more and more power to his brain, his consciousness. So imagine something like this is happening elsewhere, like who knows, an Alpha Centauri or something, or even in the next dimension over, this type of thing. Is this what's going on? And how come in pop culture in particular, they've described these gray aliens as these biomechanical entities? And that's what's on my mind tonight. There's a paper here written by on Live Science by Martin Rees, and he's discussing this exact thing, that why extraterrestrial intelligence is more likely to be artificial than biological. And that's what's going on. So if you guys want to be part of the show, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. Thank you, Jennifer, for the call, getting us kicked off on that. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And then also, of course, there's some other thoughts here. Are we on the same evolutionary path as something like that? I think that's probably as fascinating to me as considering maybe aliens as whatever they are. But then if we're on some sort of similar evolutionary path to becoming no longer biological, but biomechanical, what does that look like? And how close do you think that is? And are we going to be at some point no longer leaving our house or our residence or our jar, and we're now suddenly just avataring into some other entity, some sort of thing that walks around and does our bidding for us, right? Which is very much like a video game. So I don't know. I think at some point you have to consider that there's something happening here, and how close do you think we are to this sort of what do you call it? I guess just evolution, just evolutionary path. So fascinating stuff to me. Thank you again, Jennifer, for the call. And what do you guys think? As usual, right, we're reading all the chat and all the places on DLive, Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter. And, of course, listening to the broadcasting on the Fringe FM, looking at all the Discords as well. Lots of good stuff happening here. But what do you think? As always, right, I don't have any, Ryan Gable makes the joke, Galactic Federation ambassador, right? Something like that as an inside source or anything. I have no inside sources. I'm just speculating, just reading the news and trying to consider what some of this stuff looks like, years out, not just like 10 years, 100 years. What does it look like for humanity 1,000 years from now? And are we closer than we think to maybe becoming these actual gray aliens themselves? That's what's on my mind tonight, and I hope you're digging it. So let's read a little bit more from this article, livescience.com, and we'll get into biomechanical stuff and all kinds of weirdness and all of that with some of this. Let's see. let's see, AI kind of, as you know, we can take this a dozen directions. It just depends on you, on what you want to talk about. So there you go. So let's read just a little bit more here from Live Science again. Martin Rees wrote this article, and it goes a little bit like this. Human technological civilization only dates back millennia at most, which he's correct there. And unless you're talking about Atlantis and things like that, which is a whole nother show, and it may be only 1 or 2 more centuries before humans made up of organic materials such as carbon are overtaken or transcended by inorganic intelligence, such as AI, which we talk about often on this show, and some of the rest of that. But how does it go? How does this happen? And what does this mean? So let's see. Let's read a little bit more of this. Computer processing power is already increasing exponentially, meaning AI in the future may be able to use vastly more data than it does today. It seems to follow that it could then get exponentially smarter, surpassing human general intelligence. Well, I think we're probably closer to that than we think, and that's part of why we do this. So, once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We're talking about aliens and the biomechanical gray aliens, as they've been known in UFO mythology and UFO circles, and why. Why, in particular, are they not simply flesh and blood? Why is it a little more complicated than that? And that's okay, because, right, we drink the maybe juice, as you can see, drinking maybe juice, and it is complicated, isn't it? And that's part of why we have these conversations, because we may be closer to those sort of entities as they're happening, meaning that humans may become those aliens very, very soon. And I think that's the thing here. So once again, you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. Let's go to our good friend Austin in Michigan. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
Hello?
What's up, my man? You are on Troubled Minds. How you doing?
Yeah, all right. My bad. It was just a little choppy at first. I can hear you now.
That's okay. Go right ahead, man. What's on your mind?
That most of the aliens look just like us, and they're here.
Oh, like they...
And I could be one, and I won't even know it. I wouldn't even know it. Like, if most of them look just like us, how are we supposed to tell if they're here or not?
Right, like they're dialing in from somewhere else. You saying people are aliens? You saying Soylent Green is people?
Yeah. I seen a few crazy guys brainwash me with their diagrams, and maybe it was fake research, but I'm kind of convinced that most of them look just like us, and maybe shape-shifting is kind of a technology that we just don't understand yet. I don't know. That's a huge maybe juice right there, because I have no idea about shape-shifting, obviously.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
If I did, I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with the first thing there real quick. So the aliens are us, right? Maybe those avatars, think of it this way, and I like where you're going with this. If they could avatar into little gray alien suits like that, well, why couldn't they do it to an exact replicant of yourself or myself? I like it, man. I like the idea, because they could, right? That technology is right around the corner for us. I mean, we're talking about like creating, like AI Tom Cruises or whatever to walk around and be super annoying. You know what I mean? But extra annoying. But yeah, so I think we're close to that. Interesting thought. So okay,
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know if this is exactly 100% real either, but I remember looking at this one gray that was apparently autopsied and. Little gray, the stereotypical looking guy. And before he was autopsied, they were like asking him about stuff because he was like dying and he was like sick. And he said that humans are vessels. And that's like the only thing he said.
Vessels, meaning?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was thinking. It just had me going like vessels, like spirits, like we can just, like you were saying, the avatars. Like, I think that's what it means. For consciousness, maybe?
I think so. Well, and again, if you can do it to one thing and create it to look like something else, you could do it to something else, right? You could do it into a dog, right? Into like a little biomechanical dog, things like this. Or at some point, right, we're talking about maybe a remote viewing style. Maybe you don't need mechanical anything. Maybe you just snap into them, right? Like bam, like you're now taken over by something. I don't know. Good stuff, man. What else you got?
There's a lot of different aliens I've seen, like drawings of, like the reptilian shapeshifters, but there's supposed to be a bunch of different kinds, like tons, like this is kind of making me think of Credo Boutois a lot, because I feel like, from my personal view, that he's the most credible in my eye and disclosures, because at first I was like, oh no, this guy's nuts, but after like looking back on stuff I'm finding, like it seems like it all goes back to Africa.
Okay, I like it. So, meaning that this has been around for a long time. This consciousness snapping into different suits or bodies or lucky mud, or what do you mean? What do you mean back to Africa? I
think genetic mutation of us goes back that far. Like, I feel like we've been experimented genetically for thousands of years by other things, and maybe even. Yeah, like maybe we are yeah, exactly. It just makes me think way too much about this stuff. Gets me going, man.
Yeah,
like if we're genetically modified, that's nuts. Like,
yeah, that's nuts. Some of those theories go back
ago.
Like some of the theories go back like 750,000 years on the Anunnaki and that story on genetically modifying people and the Igigi and all that stuff. So yeah, you're not without company with that thought. We got like a minute left, my man. So final thought here. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, Book of Enoch.
Book of Enoch. Okay, go ahead.
Yep, that talks about these Anunnaki coming down from heaven and interbreeding with our women and making hybrids. And it was banned by the Vatican a while ago. It was a book in the Bible. There's like 3 versions you can find online. I've found audiobooks for all 3.
Okay, all right,
Listen
sweet.
to them all.
I like it. I like it. Definitely good thoughts here. Good thoughts, man. I appreciate it so much. Everybody give Austin here a follow. He's got a brand new YouTube channel called Short Quick. The link will be down below. I haven't added you yet, but I will add you, my friend. Thank you for the phone call tonight. You were the best. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah. It's in its beta stage, so you're not probably going to find anything too awesome there. It definitely needs some work.
Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. You're the best, Austin. We'll talk to you later, bro.
All right. Have a better one, thank you.
Thanks a lot, man. There you go. All right, so appreciate that. A couple great phone calls to kick us off tonight. So we're just considering, well, these biomechanical entities, and what do you think they are? And again, they said gray aliens in the UFO mythology is exactly that. They're not exactly they're not biological. They're something else. And so why do you think that is? Do you think we're close to that as humans? What do you think is going on with this? And if so, ancient astronaut theorists say yes style, drinking some of the maybe juice here like we do. Do you think that there's something to this regarding humans being close to having some sort of avatar situation where they could just dial into from afar by creating, basically a duplicate of us? It's not exactly biological. It's not exactly mechanical, but you got it, somewhere in between. Love to hear your thoughts on this tonight. We're taking your phone calls at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More aliens and you after the break. Be right back. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random as they traverse neurons in the brain.
We got, all right, so maybe,
and they also feel them planting.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
all right, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This show's live. We're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And, of course, we're taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. You can also go to troubledminds.org and click the Discord link and join us that way. Discord is a chat client. It's a voice client. It is absolutely free, and we'll put you on that way. Yep. You're up, Derek. If you want to hop in here, come on in. Go ahead and get your break on and hop on in, and we'll talk about aliens. So that's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about aliens in particular. What about the Greys? How the gray aliens in actual UFO mythology have been described as biomechanical entities. That's right, biomechanical. And so what does that mean? And not just that, if that's the case with some sort of avataring into them from afar, sort of remote viewing or quantum entanglement, sort of remote control, maybe we're close to that. Maybe humans and their technology, our technology, see, I'm talking about humans like I'm not one. See what I did there? Freudian slip, I just admitted I'm an alien. No, I'm just kidding. But the thing is this, right? If aliens can do this stuff and that they're biomechanical and they're sending out these avatars all over, you would expect the galaxy, right? Not just Earth, unless, well, I guess Earth is the only interesting place to visit. And if that's the case, I think you would probably be well, I don't know. I would think that there's got to be a lot more interesting places out there than Earth to visit. But hey, you never know. I don't have these answers, and that's why we do this to include you. So if you want to be part of the show tonight, like I said, 702-957-1037, and we're talking about aliens. That's right. Aliens. You know it. What's up, Ash? I see you there. So the question is this, right? Biomechanical entities, right? Why are Greys in this mythology, the UFO mythology, known as this sort of hybrid being, sort of hybrid entity? And not only that, then we're discussing an article by this individual by the name of Martin Rees on Live Science, where he says that was going to be the case anyway. And the article starts like this: why extraterrestrial intelligence is more likely to be artificial than biological. And it makes sense. I think in a lot of cases, it makes sense that, again, you wouldn't send yourself where there's risk to you. You would probably have some sort of remote controlled device. I mean, look, we're already sending drones you control with a actual, physical handheld remote control. But what happens when we start putting the Cerebro helmet on and controlling the drone as if we were the drone ourselves? And if that's the case, and we're pretty close to that, which if you ask Elon Musk, he thinks that it's probably close with his Neuralink, right? Well, if we can almost do that, and, it may be, let's say it's 100 years away or something, then, well, clearly, I think talking about extraterrestrials as having that ability seems trivial, doesn't it? And so it makes sense to me that they would be sending these gray aliens as some sort of scout mission, something to get the work done, sort of the drones, the worker bees, as it were. And what does that mean? What does it mean for not just other aliens? Does that mean that we expect that all the other aliens we would ever encounter would be some sort of hybrid biomechanical thing, or some sort of Borg situation like Star Trek and the Borg, or I don't know. And so that's what we're considering tonight. Those are the thoughts on my mind. Like I said, not your average everyday water cooler conversation, but that's what we do. That's what we do. We're not talking about Joe Biden or that or Donald Trump or that election in Virginia. Because guess what? Kabuki theater. That's right. That's right. You may be happy your team won or lost this time, or sad, but guess what? Whoever's in's going to let you down, because, well, it's all fail. It's all fail all the time. So I'm becoming less and less interested, and, well, it's not my fault that I'm not interested in the way the world goes. It's the fault of the individuals that are running it. So there you go. I'll leave it at that. And there's your politics update, and we'll get you your sports update. Houston, we have a problem. And there you go. All right, there's my joke. I got to work it in, and only because I apologize to the Astros fans out there, but I am not an Astros fan. So there we go. All right. So anyway, as we do this and talk about this stuff, we're considering your thoughts on this. What about these biomechanical aliens, the gray aliens, and is it likely that if we encounter any other type of alien, they would be biomechanical as well? And then, of course, add that to the wrinkle in the conversation that if that's the case, how close do you think humans are to that technology? We've got Elon Musk, that Neuralink, like I just described, and we've got all kinds of things happening now with these digital dogs, the digi-dogs, right, the DARPA dogs, as we call them, and some of this other stuff that's already happening where we're scouting areas with drones. All right. So all you got to do for a drone is remove the propellers, add some arms and legs, and bam, we've got gray aliens. So, okay, let's go to our good buddy, the Night Stalker, Derek in Massachusetts. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
What's going on, brother? It's happening. Great show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Just chilling, man. Talking about weird stuff. What are your thoughts on this biomechanical alien thing?
Oh, man. This is the good stuff. This is that good maybe juice I'm talking about, you know?
All right.
I didn't take any really notes because I'm working. It's kind of busy. But you might have to prompt me a few times. But
I got you.
Essentially, like, this might be, I think I mentioned this before. But first, let's go to the like, robots with souls thing, because like Robert got me thinking about that. There's the Duncan Trussell is where I heard it from. I'm not sure if he asked a Buddhist Lama or if this is like a secondhand story, whatever. But somebody in Tibet asked like one of these lamas if a robot will ever get a soul, and the lama responds that when the vessel is sophisticated enough to house a soul, then the soul will incarnate into it, as if like in some point in the future when we make these biomechanical, like more Westworld style robots, like more indistinguishable from us with some kind of like mechanical flesh type stuff, that instead of like, if our bodies really are just these meat machines, instead of our soul like incarnating into a human at birth, it'll incarnate into this robot body instead, and that's where consciousness will go, and for the future. And like that's kind of a scary thought, obviously, but also like if it's not like a demon, or if it's not like some evil AI or something, if it actually is like a human soul, then potentially there could be some good stuff with it. But as far as just like, if you look at the trajectory of consciousness, I think I said this before too, but I forget. You kind of like take it from, I think this is Ben Stewart who talks about this, but if you look at like the crystal or like mineral kingdom, how it takes like years and years and years and years, generations for it to come into form. But it's all it really does, very slowly, if like under an animistic mindset, if it has some kind of consciousness, that consciousness is just coming into form over a long period of time and just staying there. And then go up the ladder, you get plants that are coming into form, still stationary, observing their surroundings, if the point of consciousness is to just experience infinite realities, experience all of yourself, all of itself, consciousness, experiencing consciousness. So a plant will come into form, bloom or whatever, is stationary, and then dies, but much quicker. So more novelty, more experiencing consciousness. And then an animal comes into form, and then dies, but it's consciousness on the move. Where an animal is able to walk around and experience more stimuli and create more novelty and stuff. Like the consciousness is experiencing more of itself. And then we have humans, which are those animals that come into consciousness, coming into form, on the move, but we're self-aware. We're consciousness that's thinking about consciousness, creating like infinite more novelty and infinite more like ability to perceive itself and think about itself and like create new things and stuff. So then the next step potentially beyond that is humans, or like a human mind or a consciousness inside a vessel that's on the move, that thinks about itself, that's able to process information, but potentially doesn't have to worry about a physical death, or could last longer than 75 years, or doesn't have to like, I don't know, do the trivial things, doesn't have to stock shelves at a supermarket or whatever, can just process a boatload of information and then not have to worry about any type of like human type thing. So that's more novelty and more information processing and that kind of stuff. So potentially in the future, or that's already happened to some alien race, where they created a vessel made out of like some kind of fleshy substitute or whatever. Like, what if somebody just, I don't know, Frankenstein style, just designed this? Like, how different? Why is the human body not a piece of technology? Like, somebody explain that to me. Unless it's like you're including like the metaphysical body that's attached to it. Just like I'm talking about, look at your meat suit and explain to me how in the future, if somebody can just replicate that, that's not a technology. It is. So like, I don't know, it gets pretty murky as far as like how to separate a soul in a human body versus a soul in a human body. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same. So that's just like obviously very pro robot in this case, which is not usually like me. But
you traitor, you dirty traitor.
Yeah. just as far as like the idea that we're not creating consciousness, we're the receiver of consciousness. It would make sense that the receiver is becoming more advanced. Like that seems to like it would be logical if the drive of consciousness is more neutral and pretty much just to experience itself, and that's like the driving goal within the universe. That there might be races that have already done this, you know, and we're probably going to do this. Rather than like maybe transferring your consciousness to a machine might come first, but there could become a time where people just born into machines and you reincarnate instead of like, I don't know, like say a soul is reincarnating every 100 years or whatever. In 100 years from now, like the next one they're doing is, we're going to start reincarnating in these robot bodies. So that's cool to see how that goes. You know what I mean? Especially if, I don't know, if time doesn't exist the way we think it is, it could be just these like souls, these spirits, or whatever, just picking and choosing whatever era they want to go to. Do I want to go in the era where I'm more connected with nature and it's more of like a symbiotic relationship? That'd be cool. Do I want to incarnate to a time where we're kind of on this cusp, this weird age where what kind of weirdness? I'll incarnate into 2021. Do I want to incarnate into this robot body and maybe solve some stuff and like experience some, I don't know, you know, that's one avenue to take it. But yeah, promise. I'm kind of rambling now.
No, I got you. So okay, so perfect is that maybe this is exactly where we're headed. Maybe this is us. And some people have suggested this, that it is us. Maybe like you said, if time isn't as we perceive it, that this stuff is us coming back to maybe dip their toe in, 2021 and see what the great pandemic was like. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows, right?
Exactly.
Maybe that's what's happening here. And I do like the idea of that, the way you described how maybe consciousness is the evolution of not just entity to entity, but then you kind of layer it on top, and it seems like we're close to that, right? It seems like, I think the more I think about it, like we talk about DARPA and the drones and the things that are happening now, right? Think about Boston Dynamics 100 years from now. Like literally all we're missing is the ability to zap our brain into that robot, and that's a wrap. That's pretty much exactly what we're talking about, right? And
I mean, think about what we're doing. I know Jay always mentions this all the time, and he's 100% right. How the combination of all our different ideas, like getting to hear Jennifer, just blow our minds, and then Kelly and everybody, Rohan, James, able to just contribute all these ideas together. It's able to shift our paradigm and move us towards something else. Move us like it creates novelty. It exposes you to thoughts that you might have not have had. So then thus creates new thoughts or whatever. But what if it doesn't take that long? And what if you just like can do that like instantaneously with like a snap of a finger because your processing power is so advanced? Like, but it's still you somehow. Like that creates a ton more novelty, and I wonder what would happen. Like I don't know. It's not all bad. Is what I'm trying to say, and it could be a scenario where it actually like could be a good thing. You know, I don't know. But also like it could be much darker, and it could be like the AI did create a vessel. It might not be us at all. It might not be like aliens transferred their consciousness over. It might be that an alien created an AI that just took the planet over and maybe destroyed the aliens, and now it's just an alien AI that created these vessels and now is populating the galaxy. Most likely, like some kind of hive mind, some kind of like I forget the term I want to use, but like just some hive mind, some overmind is most likely what's colonizing the galaxy, like some kind of that galaxy. Most like there's probably different variations you talked about before, but like societies that have like Dyson spheres and are able to like absorb the whole power of the sun or whatever. Most likely, there's some kind of galaxy that's basically like started out as a planet, whatever this hive mind is this overmind, and then just through these vessels spread itself out, and then it could be the same thing. That's like, I like the idea of like a directed panspermia where like every million years or whatever, or just some kind of culture that's like beyond time, doesn't worry about time because you're an eternal AI or whatever, and you're just, so you create locally you create these like robot vessels that can do the actual physical labor. But if you don't worry about time, then you would start seeding the universe, spreading out the building blocks of life around the universe, so that because you don't care about time, you're able to let them evolve on its own. Maybe send out every million years, oh, here's some mushroom spores that will build your brains up until you become from apes to man. Oh, here's like some kind of crazy technology idea that we're gonna send to Steve Jobs so he creates the iPhone, so you guys can all start talking to each other, et cetera, things that like move the culture forward somehow, things that they can do from a very long distance away, especially maybe through psychedelics or through some kind of like seances or some kind of alien contact or whatever. And then those civilizations that are building, like they're coming up and spread across the universe, once they get to that point where they're creating their own AI like us, maybe when we turn it on, all of a sudden that creates that thing that created us or has been like nudging us along. All of a sudden, once we turn our version of it on, it's like turning the other side of the Stargate on, and boom, it's here now, And then in the meantime, maybe a way it intervenes is through those robots that it creates, or like different levels. Like, what if there's one of these created civilizations that's just like a couple hundred years above us, and they created these weird robots, and we're dealing with them, or like something that's a million years ahead of us, and we're dealing with that, but still part of this like hierarchy of this like hive mind, panspermia, galactic universal domination. You know what I mean? Like, anybody who watched Marvel's What If recently, one of the last like 2 episodes were all about what if Ultron won? What if like instead of just being in Avengers 2, he actually like killed all the Avengers? What would happen? And it's essentially like he just keeps going and going and going and doesn't stop until he just becomes the universe, basically. He invades the multiverse, invades like the spiritual realms and all kinds of stuff. It gets really dark.
Yeah, totally.
But, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go right ahead.
And like, before I leave, also Rivers, the amazing, wonderful Rivers, mentioned that in SG1, Stargate SG1, most of the alien gods and goddesses are like vessels for the Goa'uld, whatever. They're like being piloted around by some kind of alien parasite, or whatever. So perhaps it's the same kind of thing where these aliens that we're encountering are actually being piloted by something else. Like they might not even need to be robots. Like what if we're like some kind of toxoplasmosis where we're the biological meat suit that's being piloted without even our knowledge by some kind of like thought form or some kind of like sentience that's beyond our understanding, that's able to like push us and nudge us, make us do its bidding without even realizing it, And then like, I don't know, the aliens, the demons thing, just to toss us into the mix, like the ghost in the machine idea. What if like, and Bailey always talks about this, what if there is no AI in the way we think it is, but it's all some kind of demonic thing that same way it creates a vessel. So when people are saying aliens are demons, they don't mean like an alien is like teleporting from hell. It means like a demon finally got a body and fast forward a million years and it's dominating the universe somewhere. You know what I mean? Which is kind of a scary thought, And also for the Greys in particular, Crowley did a working and summoned a Grey. So there's something weird going on with that. Like, as far as some kind of like, potentially it is some kind of non-physical consciousness that some cultures may call a demon. Some might just call it just a disembodied consciousness in another culture, created a vessel, and now it just has evolved with the body, which seems to be the goal, seems to be what the elites are trying to do. So maybe just one of them did it somewhere else, and now we're dealing with those repercussions. My break is kind of running low, so I'll get going. But,
all right. Appreciate it. You're the best, my friend. Derek, the Night Stalker from Massachusetts. Appreciate the call. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks
a lot, bro. All right, so if you guys want to be part of the show, there you go. It's as simple as that. You can use the Discord, or you can give us a call at 702-957-1037. And we're talking about aliens, right? But not just aliens in the traditional sense. What about these biomechanical hybrids? And where does this begin? Of course, you know, we got lots of fine folks that call into the show and give us all kinds of different takes on this, because it's interesting to consider that even if, let's say, ourselves aren't aliens, or we are, or whatever, right? Like we're some sort of like in that evolutionary path between here and there, that it may be 1,000 years from now, we're going to be able to do all these things we're talking about that seem like magic, right? Well, but now, what if the aliens are doing them right this second? And maybe they are. Maybe they're dialed into us like some sort of symbiote from, imagine like a mental symbiote, right? Maybe the lucky mud is us, and we are, well, I don't know, like some de-evolved thing, but these meat suits are what these entities from afar are actually tapping into, you know. So again, like my ego doesn't like the idea, but well, here we are considering it and talking about it anyway. So that's the topic tonight. Great call so far from everybody. Is this why extraterrestrial intelligence is more likely to be artificial than biological? And that's really what this is about. Is you know, kind of considering drinking that maybe juice, like we say, and just considering what it looks like now, with our technology, and then sort of extrapolating that on what it would look like in sort of a galactic form of evolution. And are we connected to that? Are we disconnected from that? Is there some crossover there? And again, right, I like to talk about aliens because, one, it's not really, you know, like you say it and people are like, you're insane, right? Like, what are you aliens, what are you even talking about? But it's like, hold on. Like, aliens, as we know them in the mythologies, are awfully close to what we are now. So you know, like I said, if we're within 1,000 years of all that technology, then, well, once again, maybe we are the aliens. And so, as usual, right, I am not the answer guy, I'm the questions guy. And so as we consider these things, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We're not trying to get to the bottom of anything. We're just speculating on what the future may be like, not just for the aliens, but for ourselves and how this goes. So if you want to be part of the show, love to hear your thoughts, and you can reach us at, of course, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And the question tonight is, if aliens are biomechanical, why do you think that is? And how close are we to becoming those aliens themselves, with, of course, transplants and maybe mechanical limbs, and who knows, even consciousness moved into an android at some point? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More extraterrestrials, biomechanics, and you when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're talking about aliens. That's right, but not just any old alien. What about the mythology of the gray alien? And how, of course, they are supposedly a biomechanical thing. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean for aliens in particular? Do you think more aliens would be of that same ilk? Or do you think that maybe aliens are closer to ourselves, seeing that all of our medicine, transplant technology, and all the rest of this seems closer and closer with things like Neuralink? You tell me. Talking about all kinds of stuff tonight, consciousness, aliens, and all this, and love to hear your thoughts as usual. As always, amazing calls so far tonight, and looking to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 957-1037. You can find the phone number and the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. Come say hi. All the social media links are over there, and come follow up on all the channels if you have not. It's like I said, this is not church. This is not preaching. This is not trying to find any real truth. This is kind of going out back into the weeds and kicking through some questions and considering what the truth might be. And so that doesn't mean, it means you can believe whatever you want. Nobody's trying to convince anybody of anything here. We're just kind of kicking out some ideas and trying to have a good conversation. So if you want to be part of it, once again, love to have you. 702-957-1037. Sorry about that, Ash. If you're out there listening, we had Ash on the chat there. He was ready to come in and he had to take off. So appreciate you being patient, and sorry we couldn't get to you soon enough. But we are taking your phone calls. There you go. So let's go back to this article and some of this other stuff, right? Now, the reason why people, again, have described these gray aliens as being biomechanical, let's go to this, right? This is from the Above Top Secret Forum, which is a fantastic place to have discussions just like this. And, there's a lot of this stuff going on out there, which I appreciate because it means I'm not the only one thinking about it. Because, if I was, it would be a weird place indeed. But here we go. This is a post. This is again from all the way back from 2010. It says, I read a lot about UFOs and ETs, and I have come to the conclusion that grays are indeed androids. After reading about the Sumerians, I've learned that the Anunnaki had androids that acted as emissaries, workers, slaves, etc. Could these androids have been the popular gray aliens? He continues here. Another bit of info that helped me come to this conclusion was an interview on the canceled TV show UFO Hunters. The UFO Hunters were interviewing a woman who claims to be an abductee, and the abductors were very friendly gray aliens. She says that there were two human-looking aliens with the gray eyes. They were very tall and muscular and had blonde hair and blue eyes. I instantly thought of the Nordic aliens and Hitler. There's always been rumors of Hitler conspiring with aliens and all the rest of this. It's unfortunate, by the way, I'm interjecting here, that some of these conversations do kind of go back to Hitler and the Nazis. But, there's some conspiracies that go deep enough that say, there was a contact made between not just the United States, but some other entities, world entities back during World War II. So anyway, there we go. He says that's not the point. The tall, muscular aliens matched the description of these Nordic aliens you've read about, and the woman says the Greys were robots or androids working for them. So perhaps the Greys are robots developed by aliens and are used by all alien species, and from what I hear, they work for insectoids, reptilians, Nordics, and the Anunnaki, and probably every other alien species. And like I said, this is all my sources are linked. You can go read this stuff yourself. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. If you think there's no aliens, that's cool by me. That's totally cool by me. We're just considering if this exists, if this is all real, and these aliens, these actual gray aliens, are biomechanical, well, what does it mean about them? And then also, what does it mean for the future of us? I think, like I said, that's probably the most fascinating part of this to me, is that how are we connected in this maybe galactic level of evolving of this maybe this thing is a galactic Darwinism, right? Maybe there is something here. I don't know. So what are your thoughts on this? As always, I'd love to hear from you. Why would you think that aliens are going to be some sort of biomechanical hybrid first? If the gray aliens are, as the UFO mythologies state, then do you think that other aliens, maybe, as some have described, reptilians, mantis, this, that, the other thing, if they are, then, well, what could they do? Why would it be? I guess that's the question. So anyway, like I said, looking to hear from you. We'll read a little bit more about this and the gray aliens and stuff, according to some of this UFO mythology. But yeah, all right. So let's just do that. Let's get into that, and let's see one more time. Make sure everything's cool. All right, there we go. So let's do this. Let's go to this article here that I was looking at just a little while ago, and here we go. There we go. So here's another one. Here's a take from Seth Shostak, and this is from The Guardian. And I think this is again fascinating when you start looking at some of the different ways that people consider what aliens may be. And the title of this one is, "If we ever encounter aliens, they will resemble AI and not little green Martians," All right. Well, but once again, what if the AI is tapped into these little green Martians? Anyway, so again, from Seth Shostak, he's the astronomer at the SETI Institute, which is a nonprofit research organization in California, Silicon Valley. And SETI, of course, stands for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Okay. So it says he says claims that extraterrestrials help build large pointy monuments in the Egyptian desert 5,000 years ago are frankly laughable. And that's his take on all this stuff, right? So I don't know. Let's if I read this, it's going to put me in a bad mood because, well, you get these super skeptics that are just like, nah, and that's fine. But how about this? Let's go to this instead. This is probably a little bit better for the conversation. Let's go here. This is from Cell.com, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. So if we're talking about aliens as some sort of biomechanical entity, right? This is from November 1st, 2018, and the title is The Future is Synthetic Biology. Synthetic biology. And what does that mean, you may ask? Well, let's just read it. Let's just read it from the science heads here and see what they say. Increasingly, synthetic biological systems and molecules are being used to drive biological applications and discovery. At the 2018 fall meeting of the American Chemical Society, Cell's Andrew Rennekamp met with John Glass, Jim Collins, and Floyd Remensburg to discuss synthetic biology as a discipline and to get their take on where it's headed. Annotated excerpts from this conversation are presented below, and the full conversation is available with the article online. And there's some good stuff here. If you look at this, quote, I think synthetic biology is well positioned now to become the patch clump for molecular biology. And continues, we need to expand our toolkit of available parts and components. I think we have to enhance our ability to harvest from nature what's out there. For the most part, we're still using a few dozen parts in a reusable fashion in synthetic biology, and we need to expand that to hundreds of thousands and millions of great diverse parts. Now, back to what Derek was saying, if you take that sort of thought process and maybe bring it to a larger scale, not just on the Earth, but how about as some sort of galactic evolutionary sort of process, we have this. He continues. So not just a few dozen, we're talking about expand to hundreds of thousands or millions of great diverse parts. Installing what you build as what you build gets larger, I think it's going to become the limiting factor. And so if that's maybe the case here, now imagine a technological civilization, ETI as it were, an extraterrestrial intelligence, if they're looking to collect as much biological input as possible, maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe there is some sort of connection between us and our consciousness with something greater. Okay. Now, again, I don't want to get religious with this because it freaks people out, and I don't mean it like that. I just mean it as part of the conversation. Is if you think of it in terms of, well, we are connected to the universe. All right. Well, what does that mean? Is that, like electromagnetically? Does that mean biomechanically? What does that mean? It could mean a ton of things, right? But I think when you start looking at it in terms of this and how we're doing our science now, is if we're trying to collect as many biological parts as possible to reuse in this synthetic biology, well, we're talking about just on a planetary scale, right? So clearly, wouldn't it be best if you were able to create some sort of a hybrid entity by farming not just this planet, but other planets? I mean, clearly, we're not the only planet with life out there. Am I right? It seems to be a solid hypothesis on just life in the universe. That if we were, as they say, right, two things are equally terrifying. One, that we're completely alone and it's just us. It's a terrifying concept, right? Because when we're done, and that's that for the universe. Terrifying. But what about the other? Is that maybe we're not alone. And that's equally terrifying because, of course, what happens? What does that mean? Does that mean we're the sum of parts of some sort of maybe galactic evolutionary thing where they are collecting pieces of us, DNA or this, that, the other thing to, create something greater than ourselves? I don't know. As usual, right? Just an idea here to kind of kick off a conversation and keep it going tonight. So if you have thoughts on this, I'd love to hear what you think. If you want to be a part of the show, it's 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And synthetic biology. I think it's an interesting way to look at this as gray aliens and hybrids and all the rest. What does it mean, though? How does it connect us with the greater galaxy at large? Or does it at all? Like, again, I'm open to all the possibilities of, come on, Mike, get off it, whatever, with the aliens. That's cool. I'm totally fine with that, because you have to consider all of it, right? You have to consider that aliens and grays and all this have been some sort of military psyop since 1947. I'm okay with that too, right? I'm okay with all these ideas kind of kicking around and being able to consider them at the same time. And I'm okay with that. Like I said, not trying to convince anybody of anything here. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? This is kind of weird here, where we're talking about aliens as hybrids, as biomechanical things, and then maybe tapping into consciousness, meaning maybe that these individuals, these entities, whatever they are being used through some remote viewing sort of outreach from, who knows, from another galaxy for all we know, and being used as these robots, just drones like we would use them. So there we go. What's up, Hemlock 308 in the chat says, maybe we are the spare parts. A lot of parts. Yeah, right. I think that's kind of the terrifying part here, is if you start looking at it in terms of an evolutionary standpoint, then maybe that is, right? Maybe we are those spare parts. So, all right. So as we're doing this and kind of kicking it and talking about all kinds of crazy stuff like we always do, I'd love to hear your thoughts on aliens and, of course, why they would be biomechanical. And what does that mean for us? Meaning, are we on some evolutionary path where we were lucky mud, and the next step of evolution for humans is some sort of biomechanical thing? You tell me your thoughts on this. Love to hear it. One more time, 702-957-1037. And there's the phone number, and we're sipping baby juice and talking to our friends. Let's go to our good friend here, Robert in Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm fine. This aliens, these I personally think they are. They're androids. They're biomechanical robots or whatever. I personally think that's what they are, and I also think they envy us. All right. I mean, they'll tell it. They may say, to Einstein that you people are, you humans are primitive because you have to speak with words. All right, they don't have to speak with words. They have a hive mind, like one of your earlier callers said. They can read each other's minds. They communicate that way. But the fact of the matter is, human beings have souls, and those souls and the brain, the mind, the memory is not what holds those souls. Those souls are in every cell of a biological body. All right, so this is what I mean when I say the rich are only ones who will be able to afford to seek immortality through a mechanical brain by downloading their brain into a mechanical brain. They can't download their soul, all right, into something mechanical. So that's what I mean when I say that when the rich go to do this, because they're the only ones who can afford, they will eventually envy the dead. That's my soapbox tonight. Yeah,
I follow you. I follow the logic there. Is that so? What happens when they do this? So if you can transfer consciousness but leave the soul, what happens? What are you creating?
The soul can continue to exist in a vegetative state inside that body because the brain is gone until that body dies. All right. This is where it gets a little complicated. You can download your mind into a mechanical mind, a mechanical brain. All right. Does that mean after you do that the body dies, the flesh body? All right, because that brain's still there. We just downloaded what was in it, what was stored in it. The brain's still there. So the soul would still be in that biological body unless that biological body died and then released the soul.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. And so basically, are we saying here that maybe this moving consciousness from one actual entity that's linked with the soul to something else is we're in the process of basically exterminating souls and repopulating them with something else, something more sinister,
something quite artificial. I mean, you are Michael Strange, all right? But if Michael Strange downloaded his brain into an artificial brain, hybrid entity, you would not be Michael Strange anymore because you can't download your personality. Your personality doesn't exist in the brain. All right, that's part of what the soul is. That's part of every cell in your body. So you may live for you may exist for hundreds and hundreds of years in that biomechanical thing, but it's not you. No matter what anybody says, it will never be you.
Gotcha. Okay, so just facts.
And that's
go ahead.
And that's what I mean about be careful what you ask for, what you ask for, or what you dream of, or what you want to be. And certainly it amazes me that the super wealthy in the world are obsessed with this idea of trying to find a way to live forever, to be immortal. And this is where they're going to go with it. I have no doubt about that. And they are going to destroy themselves when they do that, because all they will become is biomechanical monsters. So they're already sociopathical as it is. All right, even less they will actually be less sociopathical because they won't be able to have feelings, emotions, those sorts of things. You notice that these hybrid aliens show absolutely no emotion?
Yeah, that's what some of the abductees say, is that there's some sort of like emotional disconnect with them, like they're very robotic. Yes.
Right. Well, that's that's because they can't feel emotions. They're part of a high brain. All right, and they're not of biological essence. They're machines with some biological filler.
Gotcha.
That's all. But when you started this show by putting across the question, is this where we're going? Is this where the human race is leading up to? All right, and that's that great reset. That's that idea of us becoming more machine than people, of becoming what we're, and I think that's overwrought, because they're not going to want to do that with regular folks, regular worker folks like you and me. That's simply an elite dream for their own class. All right, and it's pathetic in a way, because ultimately what they're dreaming about doing to themselves will ultimately destroy them.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I get it. So you're decoupling the soul and becoming like you described, a monster. I'll follow you, man.
Right. They won't even know what it's like to be happy, because they'll have no sense of feelings at all. All right. I like I said earlier, I picked up on this some time ago, that in the literature on these abductions and meeting these aliens. These aliens envy us. There are two things about them: they're afraid of us, and they envy us. And they envy us because we have souls, and they don't have that. That's why they can't understand us.
Okay, I follow. Good stuff, man.
And you connect that with the concept that we create our own reality. Well, if we are the ones that, if we see it, it's there. If we're the ones that make up what is real reality, all right, this virtual reality game that we're all playing, all right, then we have souls. But I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm trying to put it into words, but they don't create. Mechanical, biological things can't create a damn thing. They can't create it out of their minds. All right, because for one thing, you have to have the drive to create something. And if you don't have a personality, you don't have emotions, you don't have drive. So that's what they know, that we're the special ones, and they aren't. They're the ones that maybe a million years ago made that step into becoming biological entities, made that big mistake, and been regretting it ever since, if they can feel even regret.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's what I mean by the envy of the dead, because they can't die. Eventually, maybe a biological mechanical thing can die. But I would think if they're that advanced to be able to do that, they'd be able to repair themselves too.
Yeah.
So they can't.
Yeah, I get you. All right, cool. I appreciate the call, man. We're running out of time. Final thought here?
Okay, sir. Talk to you later.
You're the best.
Bye.
You're the best. That's Robert in Pennsylvania. Check out his book, by the way. He's got a book on Amazon. You can scroll down and check out the link. He wrote a book called Stories from a Fractured Mind, the Robert Collection. So check that out. Good sci-fi stuff, and very much like the stuff we're talking about. Souls and consciousness and time travel and all kinds of crazy stuff in that book. Definitely check it out. Thank you so much for the call, Robert. And that's what we're talking about tonight. All of this, right? How does this all fit in? This alien evolution of sorts. And I guess that's really what I should have called the show tonight. What is alien evolution? And how does it include us? And well, there's a whole lot that goes into that, and we'll continue considering these things and thinking about them as we go, because well, that's what we do on Troubled Minds. And so if you're new, I see lots of new folks out there. Thanks for showing up and hanging out with us. We do this 4 nights a week. We do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we talk about all the crazy stuff. And again, right, like, remember, you don't have to be in like stark raving insane here, guano insane, to actually consider things, right? It's philosophy. It's one of those, what would evolution look like off the earth, right? It's things scientists talk about. And just because we're throwing in the gray alien as a result of it, kind of making the equation here, it doesn't make us nuts. And so trust me, you are not insane either for considering these things. So as we finish, well, the good news is, or the bad news is, we're done. The good news is, God willing, we'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific. You guys know what's going on. If you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform tonight or on the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. We keep on going, taking your phone calls and talking about the same stuff, and it'll go a little bit off the rails. Wherever you want to take the conversation is where we go. So one more time, thank you for listening. Appreciate it. And if you want to be part of it, well, see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific. And as we finish, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a 2-minute break. More Troubled Minds on the way. Third hour coming up. Like I said, if you're interested, keep calling. We'll keep going. If not, if you guys are like, aliens, whatever, we'll end a little bit early. So it's up to you. The engagement stays high. We'll keep talking about this. And if you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. Simple as that. Talking about aliens, gray aliens, bio biomechanical entities? Is there some link in evolution, not just our earthly evolution, but a galactic evolution between us and them? Are we related somehow? If not, well, let's talk about it. Let's think about it. And like I said, they're not insane. Don't worry. Don't worry. I think about it too. All right, here we go. More Troubled Minds on the way. 2-minute break. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and tonight we're talking about, well, aliens, right? Aliens, but not just your typical run-of-the-mill alien. How about your gray alien, which I guess in general terms would be your typical run-of-the-mill. But okay, how about this? Let me reframe that. What I mean is we're talking about your typical run-of-the-mill alien in a new way. Meaning, okay, if these gray aliens in UFO mythology are some sort of biomechanical thing, well, where does that fit in galactic evolutionary scale? Are we part of that? Are we actually some sort of maybe precursor to that? And if so, how close are we? And so, meaning the aliens, right, as they're described, they have 2 arms and 2 legs. They got eyes. They got, the little nose slits. They got all that. They got the big head. So they're not that much different than us, right? According to how the mythologies go. So I don't know. Maybe we do fit into that family somewhere, right? Maybe it is that galactic family, some sort of galactic evolutionary type of situation. But how does that work? What does that look like? We had some comments there about the Anunnaki, and I brought them up a little bit earlier. We can ask Kelly about that here in just a sec as well. But the thing is this, right? When you frame it all that way and say, okay, well, if we are in some sort of intergalactic evolutionary, I don't know, part of the system, part of that system, what does it mean? Like Derek said earlier, maybe panspermia is the aliens sending all this out, just littering the entire place, the entire galaxy with life to evolve on its own. And so at some point they can come interact, they can come harvest, they can come, whatever it is they want to do, right? They can come maybe, again, take us over, like with some sort of mental telepathy or, right, remote viewing, or who knows what's really going on out there. And so, once again, don't take me wrong. I don't know. I don't have these answers. I just have questions. And I do like considering possibilities that are way out there. And if you consider, on Earth, we have the Darwinian evolution. Well, I think clearly you would have to have knowledge of other species, right? Other actual extraterrestrial species to come up with a theory of some sort of maybe galactic Darwinian evolution, right? So I think that would exist, wouldn't it? I think that would kind of be same thing in the same vein. So one more time here, we're still considering this, and how do we fit into that family, or not at all? I'm okay with that. If you think they're here like Robert described, maybe they're here as a maybe the soul has been removed out of these things, and that's why they're emotionless, and they're here, and they're afraid of us. They're in awe of us. They love us. They want to be us, because we are maybe in the golden point of evolution where, and I'm speculating here, and I'm a little hubris, so excuse me, but I don't do that a ton because I have faith in humanity for sure, or I wouldn't be doing this. But I think that it is easy to get in our own way sometimes with ego and with all the rest of this, with wars, and you know how it goes. So anyway, what do you think? How do you like this conversation? All the rest of the stuff, we're looking for feedback, all the good stuff. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and let's go to Kelly. Kelly in Colorado. Whenever you're ready, my friend. How are you tonight?
Good evening. How's it going, Mike?
Oh, doing good, man. Doing very well. This is one of those ones that, you start saying A and B, and then after an hour, you're talking about, W, X, Y, Z. Like it goes fast, man. Like lots of theories to consider here. What are your thoughts with this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know, the grays. Like, of course, delving in some of the stuff as well but some of the things that I've ran across is just kind of like with everybody else, they're saying that these things might be biomechanical, or people thought that they were, something like that because of the more of a dead feeling they got with them, I guess you could say. It's not I guess, less emotional is what I say. But I'm gonna point you towards. I posted this guy on Discord one time, but I'm gonna point people towards the interview by David Icke. Right, he interviewed it was an African shaman. His name was Credo Mutwa, and he talks about those the gray aliens. But the interview he was talking about more of the reptilian species is what they call Cheetah Uli is what they call them. Is what his tribe called them, was the Cheetah Ulis, was the reptilians. But the what they call the little grays, he said they were just I guess a type of it was another creature that they it was a creation that they had made, right? And it's not like they were biomechanical. I guess it was kind of like if that's the case, if they're saying people would think that they're biomechanical, they're alive, but yet they're type of a robot. I would say that's what you would call a human being, right? Because we're type of a machine. This meat curtain that we have, and it's a pretty advanced one, if to that. But you put what people would call an essence or a soul in it, and that's just what a human is, more or less. But anyway, in the interview with David Icke with this Credo Mutwa, he was saying that they were a worker, but the thing that you're looking at is not. It's a suit, more or less like a tight fitting garment, right? And but if you were to take it off, right, and the eye, the big eyeballs. He said when he seen one, when they I guess came to him, and he had his contact with them. He was explaining it in the interview. I'll post it in. It's like 3-hour interview, part 1. But he says if the skin, when you take that suit off, they're more like a fleshy. They look real pale. The skin would look like something. He said the way he described it was the best description. He said was it looked like a skinned, like a freshly skinned animal. The pinky fleshy skin. So I kind of with that, I kind of go with go to the Travis Walton story, right? Where the movie that they made, where he said when he was in well, I don't know if that was more Hollywood, but like he was explaining, he was when he was moving about the ship, that he ran across that room, and then you could see that they were more like suits. They weren't really that's not really what they look like.
Yeah, Fire in the Sky is what you're talking about, that movie.
Yeah. But yeah, so in that video, Credo Mutwa, he's describing what these things look like, and they were thinking. I've ran through other videos or whatever I've seen, but like there was one saying that that's what a lot of people think, that they were biomechanical, and they, I guess as a creature, they're tired because they're not. I don't know if they can if they can reproduce as a creature like that, or I haven't heard anything, ran across anything like that, but I don't know if they're just made, you know what I mean, and had their lifespan, how long it would last or whatever. But if I was a highly advanced, moving around the stars, right? And you probably won't be able to go down on most planets due to atmospheric or germs or whatever in the in the atmosphere, or even in land and water or whatnot. So yeah, I would send down something like that, something like robotic. I don't know, would have to be fleshy like that. I don't know why would you think that would have to be biomechanical. It'd probably be better if it was more mechanical, if it was anything like that. So I think these things are more or less, it's a creature that was created. If it was a creature that was created, who says that it has to be, by a god or whatnot? It's a creation. So most creations like that is going to have what people would call a soul or something. who's to say that they're soulless? Maybe they're just they're a different creature. They don't need to talk. They're more advanced through the mind, where they can telecommunications or not telecommunications, but telepathy and shit. Telepathy and be able to move stuff. Because you hear stories that these things can, whatever technology they got, they're able to move through walls. Dematerialize through walls and end up, in their spaceship, or even people that are even being drugged out of their houses, and they're being dematerialized and materialized like with a tractor beam or something. So who knows, man? I don't know. It's a good question, because I really wouldn't know until, I guess, you'd have to be there.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's okay. I mean, we're not looking for the answers. It's speculation's all good. And so maybe you're right there, and we'll take it. Let's run with that for a sec. Maybe they are just entities like us. Maybe they're, they do have their own soul, and it's just different. It's different than ours. It's like maybe their soul resides in a different dimension, sort of thing, right? Maybe there's something like that going on, sort of that phase shift sort of situation, but like on a level of the soul, on a level of consciousness, and maybe these individuals are exploring outside of that, and they're doing it through these bodies, right? So that would mean, kind of in terms of UFOs, they talk about orbs, or they talk about these tic tacs, or whatever these things kind of come in and out. They kind of phase in and out. Maybe those are the actual aliens, and they're sort of using these, those are the souls of the aliens, right? And they're using these things as the vessel, right? And not meaning that they're two separate things; they're the same thing. They're just connected some way we don't quite understand, right? Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're using them as a vessel or something like that, but for me, I just think they're just another creature. They do have I don't know what we would call a soul. I mean, a lot of people, you listen. For me, I try to disconnect from the human feeling and what we would consider, what human would consider life. So the feeling, the human, but maybe the higher intelligence don't need all that, So that's another thing I was kind of going into, that, I don't know, if we're going to go towards that, that whole connection where, they're looking for the human feeling or something to that effect, or what it would be, more alive, whether, not being human per se, but, whatever they used to be. It's kind of like that movie Lucy, where she was high, the more intelligent she became less human. She had less feelings. Or even like that movie on The Watchmen, where he had Dr. Manhattan, where, he became more intelligent. The more intelligent he became, the less, need to even have those human feelings. So, you became, I guess more cold or whatnot, but I don't know. Maybe that's just the direction that, that they are, that, they're so advanced, they don't need speech, what I'm saying? They, like I said, they just do everything through the mind. If that's the case, then, they could probably move shit with their mind. So who knows?
Yeah, you would think. And then again, that opens up a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Whole other can of worms, right? Like, what is that power? What's going on with that type of stuff? And we talked about the Force. We've talked about that in the past, right? Like kind of equating the Force with some of this stuff. Yeah, I don't know. And again, right, so we did bring up the Anunnaki a little bit earlier. Do you think the Greys actually fit into that, or do you think it's something else entirely?
I don't know. So I looked into that more, and the more I would try to figure out what they used to call the, like the Agigi. It's all in the stories where they always claim to be Anunnaki, but yet like a different race or a different creation or whatever. So they were like their worker ones that before they created, humans. That's the story goes, is that, and and when they showed them, I guess they had the leader of the Agigi, and then they showed what their next creation would be, and the Agigi were more or less, they weren't jealous, they were mad, this thing right here is gonna take over what we could do. So you kind of have that, per se, if that was if true, Yeah, you know, that's where you hear stories of, like, even in biblical, where, you know, they were jealous of, you know, God's new creation, which was humans, you know. So I don't know, man. The Greys, for me, I don't know. For me, anyway, the Gigi. The more I look into that one, I would say that I mean, it could be the Greys, but or a Grey type creature. But for me, I would say it was more of a reptilian race, with all the statues of the ancient past, you know, all through that area in Japan, you know, all the things that you find in, you know, ancient history with all that. It leans more towards that, I would say, anyway. But for, you know, Anunnaki side, for the and again, if that's the case, then, you know, they, you know, obviously they could create something too. You know, everything. I mean, I don't know if they could do what like Enki did, because he was a creator, because it was, you know, he was all in science. But I don't know, man. That'd be, for me, I would say a no, because like I said, it leans more for me like a reptile and looking creature for the Igigi. But who knows? Those things that the Greys, you know, that most people represent them as looking, they're kind of, you know, you would say it would be kind of reptilian looking too. You know, it looks like some of a lizard or an ant or something, you know.
Yeah, all good stuff there. So in your opinion, you're way more into that Igigi stuff, and you know way more about that Anunnaki and the Sitchin and all that stuff. So just in your opinion, how you're feeling right now is the Greys kind of don't fit into that. You think there's something else entirely?
Yeah, I think Greys come from, I don't know, to me, you know, the stories for those ones that I've ran across is more of the like Zeta Reticuli area. You know, I mean, there's like, if you go through history, you know, with all the planet or with all the star systems that are, you know, that they've replicated here on Earth, with, you know, with like positions of like, you know, pyramids and stuff like that, Orion's belt, or, you know, the 12 sisters, which is, you know, the Palladians, or, you know, stuff like that. You got to kind of look at what they're leading as star systems, that kind of clues of where they were from, you know, kind of like the Dogon tribe, you know, when they was they knew about the Sirius B before, you know, we even knew that they even existed. But yeah, for the I don't know, man, that whole, the Gray is more, I would say, because, you know, it leans more toward, you know, they said some people, you know, antiquate with like the insectoid type things, you know, they were taller, you know, they came into the room afterward, or, you know, stuff like that. For me, that would be more like, you know, like, yeah, the Zeta Reticuli, you know, in that type star system.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a big galaxy. I mean, we're talking just the galaxy. We're not even talking like the rest of the universe at large, right? So, I mean, I think it stands to reason that there's room for all that, right? This is a big ass place, and so we got to consider all that. So, okay, gotcha. So, what about your thoughts on like that evolutionary sort of thing I was describing, where maybe we fit into that evolutionary process somehow? Like maybe we are, you know, part of their, you know, genetic manipulation sort of thing. And maybe they're coming back now just to maybe harvest, right? Or something, right? We've talked about this in the past for sure. But kind of in larger terms, do you think that there's a connection between our evolution and theirs kind of on a galactic scale?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought too, because I don't know, man. For me, again, you know, going into this, you know, in this realm, for me, you know, with all the, you know, the attention of these type species that supposedly have been here, right? Even if we go with like the Russian book, where it has like 56 different species, and then you go with what was documented in, you know, from the guy that, you know, on their disclosure project, where he said he was from, you know, the United States government, and then we had, you know, 58 different species that have, some have, you know, most of them have come and gone, but, you know, there's some that are still, you know, around. But I mean, if you go with those ones, man, like, who knows? You know, they could all these creatures could be here, you know, and to actually interbreed, to try to, or know that maybe we're a base pattern, you know, like where they could, you know, create more of them by just using, you know, kind of like, you know, it's like a simple cell, you know, kind of like you could manipulate a simple cell. And maybe we're the simple cell that, you know, we can be manipulated, and maybe that's why all these other type species are interested in us. You know, you never know. You could take it in that direction, or the fact that, you know, maybe they're just here to see, you know, how we were created. As you know, if you go by the Anunnaki story, you know, if we're going by, you know, that's the only thing we can go by is through what Earth's history is telling us, right? So that's why I go back so far and, you know, kind of look at those. And those are somewhere, you know, for me, they're just amazing to where some of these stories, you know, because it's already written down. Like some of these other stories where these other people come out and they, you know, say they talk to different people, or, you know, I'm not saying that's not possible, because I've done it, and I've, you know, practiced some of that stuff, but I don't know, man, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. You got to, unless, you know, you've seen it yourself, and, you know, you can say that you've partaked in some of the stuff that's, you know, going on, that's even, you know, even a hint of the galactic life that's out there, you know.
Yeah, well, it does seem that, again, like if you're talking about, and I agree, clearly, all we have to work with is what we have on the Earth, right? And so I talk about all the time about anthropology, archaeology, and how, you know, we're working with like just a very, very small sample size. And so we're trying to fill in a ton of blanks, right? Based on educated guesses and things like that. But now consider that on a galactic scale. I mean, holy crap, talk about small sample sizes of all sample sizes. We don't even know, like, probably, I don't know, what, 10% of what's up with the Earth. You know what I mean? so I mean, like, you extrapolate that amount of knowledge over a galactic span, and man, we don't know jack shit, do we?
Yeah, man. Or that, you know, it was recorded at one time, and I think, you know, it was all destroyed, you know, with all those ancient libraries and everything else. But yeah, you know, on the galactic scale, you know, like I said, that's how everything is just, I take life as, you know, it's like we're just a blink of the eye. But again, you know, going back to this, I don't know, man. For me, I see it as, you know, they could be, you know, if, like I said, for me, if I was the ones that are, you know, the star jumpers, you know, from planets to galaxies and whatnot, you know, yeah, you would have a what you would call a worker or a robot or something. I would do that. I mean, that's one thing that I would do. I mean, that would be a gimme. You know, I mean, you don't want to, unless you can scan the planet, obviously, kind of like the Star Trek, Star Wars type thing, where you can see, you know, life forms and what type of stuff, atmospheric conditions, before you can even step foot on it. But yeah, you could see, like, if you rolled up on our planet, right? And let's say there was something in there that you can't go down there, but yes, there's teeming with life, and it's our life form. Yeah, you know, so you would create something that could go down there to do, maybe snatch up a couple, you know, kind of like fishing, you know, out of the ocean. Snatch a couple up, pull it up, you know, do some experiments on it and see how it ticks. You know, that's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's what's happening on their end, right? If we're not related or connected at all in any way, they probably show up and just start slicing us up. Like, oh, look at these squishy things. Let's see what's inside of them. I mean, totally, right? Makes sense.
It makes sense, you know. So I don't know. I just wanted to add that to it, man. If I'm going to go ahead and post that one interview with David Icke and Credo Mutwa. It's very interesting. Okay. But yeah, he goes into detail with, you know, kind of what those things look like without the suit is what he calls it, or like a garment.
Yeah, Austin was talking about that when he called in first thing when we started the show. So yeah, good stuff, man. You're the best. You want to hang out? You're going to bounce? Up to you as always, brother.
No, man, I'm going to bounce this time.
Okay, thank you so much for the call. Thanks for the fantastic ideas. You were the man. We'll catch you later, Kelly. Say hi to Michelle for us, okay?
All right, brothers. You guys take it easy.
Thanks a lot, man. You too. All right, let's go to our good friend James. Thanks, Kelly in Colorado. James in Michigan, Salcedo Paranormal. What's up, my brother? How are you?
I'm good. It's a great discussion tonight. Great topic.
Thank you. It's weird, right? Because there's so much like aliens and whatnot. It's like, how do you kind of take it in a new direction? And I think, in sort of the evolutionary biology on a galactic scale, well, I mean, we kind of don't know anything about it, like I was saying. So why not, right? With enough maybe juice, anything is possible. What are your thoughts, James?
Yeah, well, I think the things that keep coming back to me, the first thing is, and this is not meant, as this isn't directed at anyone, because I do love, hearing everyone's thoughts, and I'm not saying that, again, this is not about right or wrong or any of that, but I think it is important. I think it's been mentioned a couple of times. We're just basing a lot of this on our own species and what we're like, and similarities that we're seeing, according to reports between us and these things. But that, I don't know if that necessarily means that we're connected in any way, for sure. So I think that's kind of important, just in the way that, because if we think about it, all living things have energy, whether you want to call it a consciousness or a soul or whatever. But it's probably it could be that it's different in each different kind of living thing. So that's just that. So that means animals of all different kinds, they would each have their own kind of energy. If we go with that idea, and so maybe whatever these are, again, they would have their own, and maybe they have their own feelings and emotions and thoughts, but they're not like ours, so we don't recognize them.
Yeah. Okay. So you just literally took this to a whole nother dimension, literally, meaning this, right? So if we're talking about sort of like on a galactic level, evolution, right, of like, flesh and blood, how it becomes biomechanical. Well, what about the evolution of consciousness and the evolution of a soul? Right. So right. We very much like to quantify what flesh and blood means, and what, even adding all this other stuff to it as speculation. But then once you start saying, wait a minute, though, what if they do have souls, but they're just a different kind, right? Like people talk about auras, you see a blue one, an orange one, a red one, or this one or that one. What if it's very similar in that they have an exact soul, but not exactly, right? It's close, but it's not exactly. Maybe the evolution of that and that consciousness on wherever they came from is close enough to emulate, or apples to apples, but it's still not the same thing, right? It's like the Granny Smith versus the Red Delicious, right? It's still an apple, but well, it's very, very different.
Yeah, and we can take that all the way from the way they're created to the way they die or change if they don't die. The way they transfer from one shell to another. Again, just the idea that whether you want to call it organic or non-organic, it's still the shells that our bodies are made of are still made of different materials. We just put importance on them maybe because of our own species, just that whole ego thing. We're better because we're made of this or that. And other things are worse because they're not made of that, because they're made of technology or whatever. I again, like I said, I think it's important to look at all the differences and similarities, but not not claim that one is better than the other in any way.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't ask me. You already know my ego's as big as the sun, so don't ask me. If you want to measure souls against aliens, boy, I'll tell you what, match me up against any of them. but well, that's my ego speaking. So, but you know what I mean? Like I'm with you 100%. What good is it without making jokes at yourself? But okay. So I get where you're headed with this. So do you think there is a connection at all? So you're saying we got to be careful in even stating any sort of connection whatsoever, right? Evolutionary or soul or otherwise.
Yeah. And this whole thing makes me wonder about, and this goes beyond the whole gray thing in a way, but it makes me wonder if the beings in mythology and in different religions, not that this is a knock on any religion, I'm just saying mythical figures or religious figures that are not human, I wonder if maybe they had their own evolution and we're just witnessing them in some cases, and we think of them as purely of our own creation, but if they're not, maybe they have gone through this evolution and they're made of other materials. Again, just an idea of applying this to the whole idea of other different species and different, just everything to like I said, like let's say the old ones, the Lovecraftian old ones. What if those had their own evolution through how many thousands or millions of years?
Billion, yeah, exactly, right.
To become what they are.
Yeah, I love it. And so, but that would be a completely separate thing. That would be literally off of our chart entirely. And so that's what you're saying. It's like these things can be extremely separate and different, and that's okay too, right? That's an okay thought here. I appreciate it. Very, very good.
Yeah, and then also, what if one of those that is really powerful at this point is the one controlling the Greys, and they are just extensions of it in one way or another, or maybe each one could be an extension of a separate being. Again, because we don't, we don't have any of them here that we can just talk to easily whenever we want to. We haven't officially met them yet, I guess you could say. We don't know.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask, I guess. As always, right? As always, it depends on who you ask. Some people have said they've met him. So interestingly, I know you were listening to the Einstein show. Remember, we had supposedly the student of Einstein that went with him to the quote Roswell crash, and Jennifer brings up in the chat a good point that sometimes they described them as wearing uniforms and not clothes. Remember how she described them as kind of being in these uniforms to the neck, kind of down to the boots, and it was all connected. I think it is curious how both of those things are reported in all this. And it makes me suspicious, right? It makes me kind of suspicious on how all this really shakes out regarding some of the reports. And, I don't know. All of this makes me suspicious when it comes from official sources. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And also, I mentioned this in the beginning of the show in the chat, and I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard in one story, in one case of someone who was, I'm not sure if they were abducted or if there was an attempted abduction, and they basically punched at one of these beings, and they hit the black eye, and it turned out it wasn't actually an eye, it was a cover. It was like a suit. It was like the outer, it was like basically this thing was wearing a suit. Like the gray, that we know of, it was more of a suit than it was the actual being.
Right.
So
exactly.
I don't remember what was under that, but that's a interesting idea too.
Yeah, back to the whole astronaut thing, right? Like at some point, don't we become the suit, right? Like it's built into us. So like again, what do they say that the term the clothes make the man? Well, I guess if you're the ancient astronaut, maybe. Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Great thoughts, man. How about with what else you got? I won't lead you in any particular direction here. What else you got, my friend? Good stuff.
Well, no, that's basically it. I just love I love connecting everything to everything when I can, and again, not that I'm saying that I know any of this or that I'm right or, but just I love it when you can kind of make connections between things and just see where those lead. I was thinking of the mechanical being thing, that them being basically machines of some kind. That really is interesting to me, and the idea of spirits. That was what I wanted to talk about. Derek Night Stalker really got me. He brings it up once in a while, and I always think about writing a story based on it. The idea that spirits can move into machines and inhabit them and animate them. I just wonder and again, I don't know, but how do we know that if the machine, depending on the machine, how do we know that you can't still have your feelings? How do we know that the feelings are purely a biological thing? What if they're part of that, your energy, your, whatever you want to call it, your soul or your spirit or your energy or consciousness? I don't doubt, what a lot of these stories, these reports of encounters have said, but how do we know that those situations and those are the only kinds of grays, let's say, that are out there that don't have feelings?
Exactly right. And so basically the soul and the consciousness could be intertwined. And not separable, right? So if you move one into the other, maybe they follow, or maybe they don't. Like Robert seems to think opposite, and so you're postulating the opposite of that, and that's okay. That's what we do here. That's why this is part of getting together and just kind of throwing out some ideas to get closer to what again, philosophy. It's philosophy anyway. Like you said, you don't know the answers. I don't know the answers. We're just getting together, having a conversation here, and I like it. I like the idea. Maybe it is linked. Maybe you can't separate the two, or there's some catastrophic failure of the body, of the spirit, of the whatever. Right? Maybe the consciousness breaks. Maybe the vegetable, the quote vegetable, moves over into the new thing because it can't exist without the soul. I like it, man. I love the thoughts. Good stuff. All right. So what about the larger thought on the evolutionary galactic stuff? Do you think there is, in some capacity, like I said, be careful making those links all the time. Do you think it's possible, though, that there is maybe some link with that panspermia bit and how, life kind of gets scattered about on planets with, sun dust and things like this? You think it is intentional?
I don't know. I don't doubt that. They say we're made of stardust. That we're literally made of stars in one level or another, or at least the materials of them. And I think that when you have celestial objects, crashing into each other, that can send any number of materials going through space in any number of directions. So it's hard to say, if any of that is intentional or not. It's very interesting to think about it being that way, intentional, because then you're left wondering who is the one setting all this in motion.
Exactly. Like, hey, I want to talk to the boss. I want to talk to the guy in charge here. I'm not talking about his understudy. I want to talk to the boss. How high does that go? How high does that go? Yeah. And is it one boss? Is it several? Right. Is it a council of 9?
Yeah. There you go. I don't know how we got to it in the chat, but we're talking about, let's see. Night Stalker says you're going to get a kick out of this. We might be evil. He says this: we might even be able to feel more, not limited by 5 senses. It might feel amazing. And Matt wants to know, but could you have an orgasm? And Night Stalker says a super robogasm with the power of 1,000 suns. I don't know how we got here, but it's hilarious. Okay.
Like I said, I don't know how we got here, but that's your chat update for the moment, James. You're the best, my friend. What else you got for us tonight?
I think that's it. But great calls all the way through, as always.
And you as well. Thank you so much. Everybody, please give James a follow. He does a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. You can find the links down below, both on Rockfin and YouTube. Just scroll down, click on Salcedo Paranormal podcast, and you can find him. He does streams 3 times a week. Matter of fact, let me get your Discord link real quick and share that out as well while we're at it. And go follow his Discord. If you guys are on our Discord or anybody else's Discord, jump in there and come say hi to James. He does a paranormal podcast stream 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is his current schedule as far as I'm aware, and he does it at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So go say hi. And it's as he says, it's Halloween for him 12 months out of the year. Appreciate it, my brother.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, James. All right, good stuff. We're talking about aliens. That's right, aliens. But not just aliens. Of course, the gray aliens. We're talking about biomechanical. We're talking about how maybe this is some sort of evolutionary, maybe the next step. What's the next step for us? I think when you talk about, Darwinian evolution and, once again, talking about small sample sizes, we only have, like Kelly said, we only have what we have on the earth, right? That's really like the only things we can study. And even then, right, we have such a small sample size that our reality it's kind of patchwork, right? It's patchwork. And, you can philosophically make the argument that is there such a thing as an objective reality versus subjective, and our brain filters everything. And imagine if you remove the brain filter from it, what the world and the universe itself would actually look like. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. So that's what's up. That's what's on my mind tonight. How does this all work? What do you think? Speaking in terms of like a galactic evolution, if you're talking about life, are we a part of that cycle? I mean, clearly, I think we're part of the life as it is. But how does that work? Are we connected to the Greys or the aliens or any of the rest of this stuff? And like I said, right, there's no answers here. We're not trying to tell anybody what to think or what to do or any of that stuff. You be you believe what you want to. Just we're kind of trying to suspend our disbelief and talk about the nature of not just the Earth, but the galaxy, and of course the universe at large. And of course, sometimes we get super, super deep and go into the multiverse, or even super backwards and upside down and talk about the metaverse. What's up, Zuck? I'm talking to you. The metaverse, yeah. But okay, so looking to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on this as we finish this up? We got about 15 minutes left. If you have thoughts on this, you're up. Love to hear what you think about some sort of why are gray aliens typically known in UFO mythology as being biomechanical or entirely mechanical, robots as it were. What's going on with that, and what is that all about? So love your thoughts on this. If you actually, we have people that have actually been experiencers that have called into the show. So you've actually have experienced that abduction phenomenon, and you can say without a doubt one way or the other because you know what's happening. Well, we'd love to hear from you. We've had people call in and tell us about their experiences with actual entities, and being abducted in the middle of the night type thing and being returned without any time passing, sort of the missing time stuff. So once again, right, we're open to all that stuff. If you say something that's kind of, off of what my brain is willing to perceive, I'm not going to come at you for it. Just again, I'll respect you, you respect me, and it's easy. But literally, that's the only rule. You can believe what you want. The only rule to be on this show and to come hang out in this chat and be with us is just be respectful. That's it. Respect yourself, respect others, and here we are. All right. So what's up, Standing Bear? I see you on YouTube. How you doing? Play as. I'm not sure what that means. But what you doing? Thanks for hanging out. Over there on Rockfin, we got some good chat happening here. What'd I say? Good shit? Good chat is what I meant. Tam Bam says, if the biomechanical aliens are planning on hurting humanity, then they're biologically killable. Yeah, I want Tam on my team. What's up, Robert says, if it's true we are the creators of reality, that nothing exists unless we think it into existence, then we imagine those aliens into existence. Therefore, they cannot hurt humanity because we created them and can just as easily uncreate them. Nice. I love the thought. Let's see. Ronald says, if we could somehow interface the biomechanical aliens with T-Mobile, they would buffer all the time. Problem solved. And there it is. All right. I got to scroll up because Standing Bear says, refer to my other comment above. Welcome to the stream, my friend. Let's go refer to your other comment. Let's do that. And then we got Jay in New York. We'll go to his call in just a sec. Let's see. Oh, I missed it entirely. what's up? Standing Bear says, maybe these gray alien beings are avatars that higher dimensional beings can occupy to interact with us in this dimension, like you would create a character to play in as in a video game. I like it. I like the thought. That's exactly what we're talking about, right? What Elon Musk says, are we actually living in the base reality? Right? And odds are, probably not. Probably not. So that's a mind fuck in and of itself, right? Like that's the whole. Once you're like, wait a minute, right? Like you are the Sims. We are the Sims. It's like, wait a minute here. Something's not right with that. But yeah, great comment. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for contributing. Let's see. There you go. Jennifer says, maybe we've all been abducted. And it could be, right? Maybe that's that. Maybe the dream state. We can go into some of that. We haven't done a dream show in a while. Maybe we're due for that. Dreams are pretty fantastic, and lots of cool stuff there. Thanks, guys, for all the amazing chat. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for all the amazing calls. Let's keep on trucking. We're talking about aliens tonight, and not just aliens. We're talking about gray aliens in the sense that in the actual what you call it, the UFO mythology, that gray aliens are actually biomechanical of sorts, or maybe entirely mechanical, as people have described them, without emotion, sort of maybe a golem of sort, with that are animated to kind of come and do scientific experiments, or be like drone sort of worker bees. And so they don't have this emotional capacity that we do. They're sort of in a let's say without it, just without it. Good stuff. What's up? David says, community of great minds create great calls. This has been a wormhole of a show. I'm glad you dig it. Like I said, it's easy with great company. So thank you so much, everybody, for contributing to this. Let's go to our good friend. We're still taking phone calls, guys. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link at Troubled Minds, and it's free, and you come meet lots of great people there. Let's go to our good friend, Jay in New York. Jay, what's up, brother? How are you? My mom wants to know how you are. How you doing, brother? You there? Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Jay in New York. Might need to reboot, reset, whatever's going on over there. There you go. He's on it. Okay. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Like I said, it's easy to just say, yeah, aliens real or not, right? And then talk about particular, abduction incidents, right? That's one thing. But it's another thing entirely to talk about why the aliens are here, what they're trying to do, how do we fit into their plans, or maybe into their even this intergalactic, evolution. Is it, are we going to be gray aliens next? Think about it. Elon Musk says they're going to Mars, and what happens to humans then? Do we simply, by moving one planet over, do we become more biomechanical instantly, right? Because we're going to need what, like expanded lung capacity. We're going to need all kinds of weird stuff happening with humans, because ideally you're not going to be out there, like sloughing concrete out there in the Martian sun, right? That's not going to happen. So what's going to happen instead is, people are going to become more accustomed to being inside and under shelter, doing more type of computer work, all kinds of weird stuff, right? Avoiding the radiation, et cetera, so on. So, what happens in just 50 years from now when Elon takes his colony to Mars? And, well, then what? Humans start to become not humans anymore at all, do they? It seems super fast that, literally you can snap your fingers, and that biology certainly becomes biomechanical super fast when you have to adapt to other planets. And you sort of take that, the Darwinian evolution to another planet. So you're taking evolution into your own hands. So I don't know. You tell me. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're thinking about. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to our good buddy Jay. Jay in New York. Welcome to the show. What's up, my friend?
Hey, Mike. Sorry, let me do my volume down on the tablet.
All good, bro. I'll be quiet for just a moment. What's happening?
I gotta double speak at you. Wow, I mean, everybody's ideas today in a blender and really get the James. Damn it, James! At the end, you made me change my mind on everything.
Damn it, James!
not in a bad way, in a great way. I mean, that's what's awesome about having these conversations. But I mean, I was thinking about if they're biomechanical suits, why are they biomechanical suits? Because they can't come here, like, put thought of conversation, diseases, environment, air, whatever, food, so we'll just send a robot down there. But then they're controlled by something else, they're controlled through an algorithm that they just come down here and do their info and then fly back. That's got to take them forever, or they're going through a portal or something, or are they just astral projecting here? Like, a lot of different shows got thrown into a blender for me tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
So, so now they're astral projecting their ideas here. Well, if they're astral projecting, you can astral project into a machine, or does it have to be somewhat almost living, in the most minuscule amount, just to be able to do it? And that's kind of one of the things that I was thinking about. And then I was wondering if, like, the elite and the ancient knowledge of the world were actually bioengineering some of the things that were in the news show and stuff like that, where we're bioengineering things to make these things. Are we all doing this just so we can make a little better gray alien for them to come down here and hang out with us and tell us a secret to the universe? Or really, you guys got to dig underneath the Sphinx. That's where the Stargate is. It's in all the writings on all the damn walls everywhere you've looked.
Exactly. It's like, well, we knew all along, guys. We knew all along. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. I'm watching Stargate SG-1. Just got into season 4, and it just gets better and better. The first 6 episodes were cringe, man. But you bring up Stargate, and my mind goes to Stargate SG-1. It's so good. It's so good.
Just wait till that one leaves you hanging and you go on to Atlantis and SG-1.
Oh, you've seen them all, huh?
Yeah. Oh, man, I was nutty about them all. I really did. I was paying money on the... remember when you used to have to download things on... I can't remember. It was Apple. It was the iTunes store or something like that. If you wanted to watch the show and you didn't have cable or something like that, you could, the day after it was on, you could download it for $1.99. That was me with the Stargate shows.
Nice.
Junky about it.
Nice. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's one of those ones that's chock full of all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff we're talking about all the time, like phase shifts and like the ancient Egyptians and like these symbiotes that are anyway. No spoilers, but holy crap! If you guys haven't seen,
I'm just gonna let you talk on it because I could probably ruin the whole.
I'm
triage for you.
I'm going to stop.
I'm not going to do it.
I'm going to stop right there. But anyway, so back to this. So what do you think about this evolution that we're talking about tonight? Instead of just on like an earthly scale, what about evolution on a galactic scale? Do you think we are related somehow to aliens or something like this? Do you think there's any connection there?
Or all the aliens and everything are evolving together? Yeah, I mean, that's highly possible. I mean, I'm kind of on, the stories I've heard and the ones I believe, and I've weeded out as crap and stuff like that. I kind of believe aliens have been running around back and forth from Earth for a long time. Even, there might be some guys like in Men in Black hanging out, pawning diamonds and gold jewelry in a pawn shop, New York City somewhere. I mean, I really think that it's possible that they're there, and if we're all evolving together, that means that we're really probably the same way that it is here on Earth, or not any different than the rest of us. They probably have their same old BS going on their planet. That's probably why they're here. Oh, let's go to Earth. It's not anywhere near as bad as it is at Alpha Centauri. Let's get the hell out of here. The Galactic Empire is really overreaching things. Let's go to Earth. They know nothing. I really think that, we're probably not any different than they are, really. It's just a matter of, and if we're evolving, I think it'd be like more on a spiritual thing that we would have to be evolving. I think that would be something that would happen universally across the universe. The souls have got to be connected, because if you can do the astral projecting thing, that means that your soul has some sort of a connection to a different soul somewhere really far away, no matter what kind of soul that is.
Yeah, again, what James brought up, like you said, blow up your mind. Damn it, James. It is like so. What about the evolution of a soul? Right. That turns into a my goodness. That's a whole nother can of worms that I hadn't even considered. But yeah. Here we are.
Well, and Jennifer was saying there's immortal souls and mortal souls. And I remember going around when you were kids and you were doing something stupid, and the old lady would come out and shake her cane at you, and she'd be like, "God save your mortal souls." And I just that was, you know, you remember that old lady, you know, when you were riding your bicycle through her pegonias or whatever.
Hell yeah, I had one that lived on my street. When I was a kid, she was like, she had her grandkids over all the time, and they were young, a little bit younger than us, and she was always screaming at them. And it was like that, right? Like the ice cream truck would come by, and they'd be like, ice cream, and they'd run out there, and she'd come behind them with the money, you know, and she'd be all pissed off. And then they'd be like, I want the Choco triple chocolate. And she's like, no, you'll have this or you'll have nothing. I was like, whoa.
Everybody gets one of those plastic ice pop things for 10 cents.
Right, exactly.
There's no milkshakes here, guys.
That's what was going on pretty much. She's like, no, like you basically get the bland ass popsicle and that's it. And me and my brother would be out front playing catch, and we're like trying not to laugh. We're just like, whoa. Okay, well, I guess that just happened. But what can you do? God bless your mortal souls, or God. What's the term? Sorry, I messed it up. Not God.
That was no. You had it. No, yeah. God bless your mortal souls.
Okay.
But the thing that got me was when Jennifer made her comment about mortal and immortal souls.
Right.
And then it led me back to a conversation that I had, 100 years ago in a bar somewhere about old souls and weak souls. There's old souls that have been around forever and ever, and they have the knowns of a lot of things. And then there's weak souls that just, I consider everybody that calls in and talks on the show and everything else like that, and we talk to afterwards, and even in just the chat, they're all really old souls because they come about it with an open mind. The weak souls are the ones that are just, this is the way. I don't want to argue or troll you or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I don't like to be judgmental in that aspect, right? Like, you know how it's like, it's more division for me. I understand what you're saying, though. It's an open mind seems to be more settled energy. That's for sure. I think we can kind of say that meaning we're willing to admit we're wrong, and that's okay, right? Like I say, it is our right, by the way, to be wrong. It is. It still is. And so anybody that tells you otherwise, they're full of shit. And that's 100% true right now. At least in the West, at least in this country still. Don't let anybody take that away from you. You have the ability to believe whatever you want to, including religious-wise or otherwise or anything, right? And so that's that. And that's what they don't like. That's why the powers that be are pissed off at us, because they want us to believe, right? They want us to worship at the church of the technocrats. And I reject
Well, we have our conversations.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times my opinion's been changed back and forth 100 times in today's show.
See? Damn it, James. This is all James's fault.
But that's good, though, because, you're open to, why wouldn't you be? There's no reason in why. I understand that maybe you want to be this way or that way, but the thing is, you should at least be respectful and listen to the other ideas. I don't know. I love it. I think it's great that it goes on this way, but especially when it goes 180 and then 180 back, and then it does that 370 thing that the snowboarders do.
Yeah.
Fantastic show.
Thank you very much. Robert over on Rockfin says this, how come nobody under hypnotic regression ever remembers a past life as a gray alien? Past lives are always human. And Ronald wants to know, or as a dog or some other animal. Other good questions. Other maybe juice discussions for another show. Because that's a whole nother can of worms, isn't it?
Well, it seems we open them up and go through them fast.
Yeah.
Out there fishing for answers, and all we got is questions.
And they just keep coming. Exactly. So what are your other thoughts on this, my man? What else you got?
I don't know. What are they making them out of? What are these things? A biosuit? All the bio stuff that we were doing in the parts and things. What is that? There's got to be some biological material in there. Where do they get it?
That's a good question.
That was one of the other questions that I had from it. Well, the scientist thing, was it on the news show today where they were talking about biomechanics and the future of it was the nanoparticles?
Yeah.
That was the news show.
Yeah, there's a mix. So there's a couple things we talked about on the news show last week where they're talking about some sort of hybrid material that will flex to you. So it's tight and yet also, right, it can be comfortable, meaning that it will kind of bend and expand with you. That's one thing. But then another thing this week that we talked about was Zuckerberg talking about building those suits, those metaverse suits that are like it's like a second skin, and you wear it over your entire body.
Is it going to pinch your ass when you go on a bar?
Hell yeah, it's going to pinch your ass when you go on a bar. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is that what the suit's going to do?
Maybe. I think maybe. As you know, the maybe juice, maybe. But we'll see. Well, I think that's exactly. So see, right? See?
What's that made of?
I don't know. They said it's super cheap to make, and it's will basically detect. You know how have you ever played any kind of VR anything? Put the goggles on thing?
Yeah, I put the goggles on and did a couple of the things at the state fair and stuff.
Yeah, so they have some things where they put like a controller in your hand, and it basically is a marker of where your hand is at, and that's how they track it. But what this suit does is you put it on your entire body, and so you're tracking every bit of you as you move, right? And so it can actually put you into that metaverse, into that space. Man, like literally, think about it. When we talk about base realities and how big this universe is, well, Zuckerberg wants to make a metaverse larger than that. Think about that. We talk about micro, macro, and how things can also be infinitely big and infinitely small. What about infinitely digital? Yeah.
Wow, the suit would have to be like one of those sheer things that the kids wear at Halloween.
Yeah.
That just make them all one color. With just a whole bunch of receptors on it, which means you'd have to be standing in the center of something that could collect a lot of data.
No. So some of the video games, when you set up like the VR space, you put up like the sensors up in the corner of the room, like in all four corners of the room. So it's already like kind of
like the Wii, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Same sort of thing. So yeah,
but you have one in each corner.
Right, exactly. So whole other conversation that we just kind of stomped into here, but yeah, it is.
Sorry,
it is, right? No, it's fine. It's fine because that's
where it got me with the aliens. Is that what their suit is?
Maybe.
I mean, is it someone in it, and that's just what's protecting them? It's like Elon Musk's upgraded version of the spacesuit. I mean, if what one would you rather wear? Something that you could actually move in, or this great big clunky thing with stainless steel rings at every joint? You know, how long until he's got one that's just a, sheer, jump into basically body pantyhose.
Right, exactly. You put it over your head. I'm here to rob the meta bank. Oh shit! There it is, Jay. And see, like I said,
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's, again, right? Like we do it for the jokes. We do it for the jokes. All right. What else you got, my friend? What else you got for us tonight?
I could rattle on forever. Sorry,
it's fine.
It's like they all blend in together, and it's like one of the things that I say all the time. It's like now they're starting to become really confusing and like all one idea. All of them, the rumor mill about the Greys in Roswell being Russian or German, to keep the keywords out of it, experiments to see how high they could go and all this, that, and the other thing. I mean, who came up with that idea? But through religion and everything else like that, did we, with the astral projection, did we put ourselves in a position where the aliens controlling some of us and leading us down this technology road so we can make more Greys? Jennifer said, how do you make them? Well, do they reproduce or they build? It's so many things that I'm like you, Mike. I want to know the answers, and I think these crazy things in my head, I come up with, I'm a builder. Well, how the hell would I do that? You have to have something biologically to kind of make it out of. I mean, you're not making a body. I mean, you're really going to make a bunch of nano machines so the fingers move and the legs move and everything else like that. It would make a lot more sense to, I don't know, take bioengineer it and grow it in a test tube or something.
Right, exactly. And again, so many rabbit holes that kind of that's good. I think it's good, right? Like conversation shouldn't be one dimensional because that's exactly what they want us to do. They want us to just communicate in like simple, blunt terms, and that's Newspeak from 1984, right? They're literally removing nuance from the language so that we can't articulate terms in the sense of a greater multiverse or an inner metaverse, right? They don't want us to have those terms available. That's the whole Newspeak 1984 and that shit, man. And you're right. Like they prefer, right? They prefer the conversation being left and right, blue and red. No, screw off. No, thank you. I've checked out. It's all kabuki theater, and I'm over it. Like big deal. So guess what? You're going to vote your guy in or your gal in, and guess what's going to happen? They're going to fail. You know why? Because the system is set up for them to fail. I digress. Let's get the hell out of here, Jay. You got an outro for us? The J-tro, as it were?
I do. It's a positive note, too, Mike. I tried to look for a decent one today.
Nice. All right. Let me give you a nice little bed of music here to do the thing. And you're up. Go right ahead.
Surround yourself with positive thinkers who are not always creating drama. Choose people who make your day brighter simply by being around them. Find those whom you admire, you are proud to know, and who support, motivate, and encourage you to grow. And I just think that's all the people that we've met here. And
Amen,
I have
brother.
No idea who wrote that one.
Amen, brother.
Sorry.
It doesn't even matter. It's good enough. That's the type of stuff we're looking for, right? Like I said, there's no need to compete. If you got a thing, let's talk about it. Let's get you up there too. Let's succeed together. Let's support each other. Let's inspire each other. That's what this is all about. That's what this should be about anyway. And like I said, just doing my small part, just trying to make sure that, like I said, if you listen to the James podcast, if you haven't listened to that James Salcido Paranormal podcast, go do that. I was on there talking about exactly this. He was interviewing me, and things come out of me when somebody asks you questions. Things come out of you. And I was like, look, I'm under no delusions that we're going to be able to change the world, right? But what if you can inspire the person that inspires the person that changes the world? And by you not talking, you're robbing the world of inspiration. And who knows? Maybe down the way, those ripple effects do some good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Thank you, Jay, for being part of the show tonight. Thanks for the fantastic call and the fantastic thoughts. Thank you, everybody else. All the amazing chat, all the amazing calls, all the amazing support. Like I said, this show doesn't exist without you. Promise you I was ready to quit this whole MFer not that long ago. But, well, we've got momentum. We've got steam. We got a great community. We got great minds coming together. And that's what we do. Anything else, Jay? You're the best, brother.
No, just be good. Do good. We'll be there. We're making it. We will make it as the people.
There you go.
It's not bad.
There you go. There you go. All right, let's get the hell out of here. The way this works is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Always open lines, always taking your calls. Only one rule. Be respectful. Don't be a dick. That's the only rule. It's easy. It's super easy. Just be you. You just be you. All right, we're out of here. Thanks again. See you guys tomorrow night. The bad news is we are done. The good news is, God willing, we have tomorrow. And we'll see you at 7 p.m. Pacific for more Troubled Minds. Got some surprises on the way and some things are changing and some other things. All kinds of things happening. And so, boom. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of this. And we're out of here. We are out of here. As we finish, you know the drill. Be sure, be strong, be true.
I missed the first part. I'm sorry, Mike.
That's okay. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. Actually, wait, you want to read the first part?
Well, I don't know the first part. You caught me off guard. What part?
Oh.
Be sure.
Oh, be sure,
be strong,
be true. There you go.
Yeah.
Now you know the first part. There you go. Well, I'll keep saying it. I'll keep saying it. We're good. Thank you, Jay. If you guys want to come hang out in the Discord, lots of folks do that typically after the show. Come hang out, come say hi. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, everybody else. Catch you tomorrow night.